Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nerdcast. It is Devin broadcasting as always live from an undisclosed location in the center of Texas on a pretty chill Thursday evening, joined by Justin. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Awesome. I hope everybody out there is having a good time too. Chris, welcome to the stream, a Devin stream. I need this. COVID fever kicking my ass, and I love when I have some chill ambience in the background to relax to. One of my favorite streamers, Devin. Thank you. I appreciate your support all the time. That's really makes me feel good when I hear stuff like that. And I'm sorry that you're going through COVID, man. That sucks. I did my time. You're like the only person I know that's never done your
I don't want to say it in such a public forum, but I have not had COVID yet. I think I might be like one of 6 people in the continental United States.
Yeah.
I probably had it, but maybe it didn't.
Maybe it wasn't that. Yeah. I think that was what it was. The first time I got it was like at the beginning of the pandemic, and I didn't know. I just ended up with, antibodies. Yeah. Sometimes it hits you. The second time I got it though, it beat the shit out of me.
I mean, honestly though, for me, the vaccine was like having COVID.
A lot of people say that too, like
the vaccine when I got them, both versions of the boot, not the third one, but the first 2 were brutal, dude. I had like 102 fever on the first one. I had the shakes, the shiver. I had all the stuff. Horrible splitting headache. I didn't cough, obviously, because you don't get that from the vaccine. But on the second time, I was so weak that I had to have my like 7-year-old daughter help me get into my sweater in the morning. I was like,
oh my god.
She just hand me that. Okay, thank you. It was terrible.
Well, shit. Okay, so that I'll count that as going through a COVID
I had it
moment.
For 2 days, for 10 hours. But it quit around 10 o'clock at night on both times.
Interesting.
I was like eating Chinese food, and I was like, but by the end I was like, no, I was like, I was like Popeye. I was like, I had eaten spinach. I was like, I feel fantastic.
You just started beefing up. All right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, you know what? Like when I had the shot, the both the regular shot and the booster, all it did was make my arm sore. I never had like a sick reaction to it.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's a correlation between
maybe
getting a bad reaction from the vaccine and not having a reaction to COVID versus
it could be
the alternate.
It's possible because I mean that's essentially your reaction is your body fighting it off, right?
Yeah.
It's all the inflammation, all the stuff, and my body. When I got a little snifter of that vaccine, it was like, all systems go, dude. We're doing this all the way.
All systems go.
Yeah. It was like, we went to DEFCON 1.
Oh no. Let's not bring up any DEFCON
I wanted to get
or
the right
DEFCON
out there.
We don't need to talk about that.
That watched war games back in the day.
Yeah.
Remembers it.
I only know of that because there was a video game on the Saturn, I believe, called DEFCON 5. And I remember looking at the cover, it was like, what the fuck does that even mean? I had to like, this was before.
5 means everything's going great, ironically.
It was either 5 or 1. I can't, let me see if I can look it up.
That's the thing. DEFCON 1 is thermonuclear war.
Yeah, it was DEFCON 5. I wonder why they...
Japanese game, dude.
No, I think it was an American game.
Oh, wow.
Let me go ahead and move over.
I love our just random tangents.
This is ADHD streaming at its finest. Yeah.
I make a comment, and now we're Googling a game from 1995.
Yeah, DEFCON 5 is a first-person shooter by Millennium Interactive. They were in the UK. Yeah. Okay, I don't know if they have DEFCON in the UK.
It's for MS-DOS, dude.
And for MS-DOS. This was a while ago. I remember seeing the cover and being intrigued by it. I just didn't know what DEFCON meant.
I want to say I remember that cover.
Wait, hold on a second. Okay, lowest state of readiness, normal readiness. I don't think the people that made that game knew that.
No,
I don't think they knew. They're like,
it might be a
unless it's like a chill out game. It's like Flow or something, or it's like
no shit. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. Just pop on DEFCON 5.
It's like Office Simulator where you just sit at NORAD and just put your feet up on the desk.
You're sitting at NORAD. You see the radar, but nothing ever bleeps on it. So it's like, oh, this game is
Summer Breeze by Seals and Croft is playing over the
This is a very realistic interpretation of what NORAD usually does, I imagine. But anyways, off of that tangent, we were talking just before the stream about our new computer setups. Hello, it's me, and I got lost at an IKEA, then got attacked by a raccoon one time. Yo, what's up, maniacal toaster? It's easy to get lost at an IKEA.
Yeah,
It's way too easy to get lost at an IKEA.
And
so I understand where you're coming from there.
Being attacked by a raccoon is a little more rare, but I think it probably happens.
Oh yeah, raccoons don't give a fuck. I tell people, don't. I know that they kind of seem cute sometimes.
I think they're super
seem
cute.
And they seem friendly, but they do not give a fuck about people. Like, they will wreck your shit.
What trips me out about raccoons is why we haven't done a better job at domesticating them. Because raccoons are fucking amazing.
They are amazing.
You know what I mean? They're like bears with hands.
With little
fucking
hands.
Wild.
I was at the Domain a couple years ago, and there was this dude in a truck that just pulled up to a stop sign, and there was a raccoon sitting in the passenger seat. And I was just like, what the fuck? And the raccoon was just chilling, like he was there for the ride.
He was on his phone.
Yeah, he was just like...
Then he took his seatbelt off and got out of the car.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, that dude's just chilling with the raccoon. That's awesome.
I mean, the thing is, they could be domesticated, and think how useful they would be. It'd
Yeah.
be like, it's like, a dog is useful.
They have opposable thumbs.
A dog had hands. You'd be like, go get me this. And he's like, I'll be right back.
Give me this.
A raccoon can walk bipedal too. It's basically like a furry person.
It's a little
super
dude.
Cute with little hands.
It's a little dude.
Like,
It's just
what?
a little dude with hands.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, maybe you should look into getting a raccoon.
Yeah.
You've got 2 adorable dogs now.
I do.
You should look into getting your dog's hands. You got just some grisly surgical procedure where your dog just has like hands
But they
on
have to
them.
be like kids' hands to fit. You know what I mean?
Small hands.
It'd be like, what I want to know is where did you get those small human hands?
We don't need to get into the details on
know.
that. We'll figure out something though. All right. Well, there are a couple things I want to talk about. One in particular, since you're here, I think you might have some insight onto a little bit of insight on the machinations of the voice acting world.
Right.
There was a controversy that popped up earlier in the week revolving Bayonetta. So a tense pay dispute overshadows Nintendo's upcoming Bayonetta 3. The former star of the Bayonetta series reignited an industry debate over fair compensation. So before we
What does Lauren think about this?
I haven't talked.
Fucking worked on this shit.
Bayonetta is a third-party title. It's a third-party developed game, I believe. Platinum Games develops it. I think they just publish it on the Switch platform, but I don't think they have any legal ties with Nintendo beyond that. But I should ask her though. Anyways, I haven't talked to her since she went to Scotland. Well, no, I do talk to her every now and then, but not about stuff like gaming and whatnot.
Yeah.
She's doing that boot camp shit for computer science.
What is she learning?
She's learning programming, and I think for
Any language
web
specialty
design.
here? Oh, so
I don't know. Java, yes, but I don't know if anything beyond that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be intense in and of itself, though. Boot camps are not an ideal way to learn
Especially
something
Scottish
complex.
boot camps.
Scottish
Because
boot
they're
camp.
like-
I can't do the accent. Scottish boot camp.
Yeah. I can't either.
You got the 0 point exception.
What are you doing?
Okay.
You gotta come into code.
Let's just hear the words from the voice actor herself.
Is that Bayonetta?
It is.
The Bayonetta?
It is the one and only Bayonetta.
Right.
Well,
Maybe
not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Hello, my name's Helena Taylor, and I am the voice of Bayonetta, and I would like to explain to you why I didn't voice Bayonetta 3. The Bayonetta franchise made an approximated $450 million. That's not including merchandise. As an actor, I trained for a total of 7.5 years. 3 years at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art, LAMDA, with voice coach Barbara Barkery, and 4.5 years with the legendary Larry Moss in Los Angeles. And what did they think this was worth? What did they offer to pay me? The final offer to do the whole game as a buyout, a flat rate, was $4,000 US. Is this an insult to me?
Wow.
What do you? No, there have been updates, but I want to just get your reaction to that. Besides the boisterous laughter.
I mean, it's hilarious. I mean, it's so sad. It's.
I think a lot of people don't really know. They don't, because like a lot of people don't know what value to attach to something like voice acting. Like they don't know. Like somebody will hear like $4,000 and be like, "Oh, that doesn't sound bad." And
well, no,
people don't really.
Sounds bad when she says the first thing about
the money that
all
it makes.
The games.
Yeah,
you know, it's
absolutely.
Like $450 million. She's the voice of the fucking character. You know what I mean? It's like every word that comes out of that character's mouth, she's said. You know what I mean? And it's like she's an integral part of the way, and it's like, you know, but it's also very. I mean, like I want to say I made more. So for those who don't know, I'm not right now, but I was the voice of the guide in all Total Wine commercials, so on the radio and on TV. And I did one series of commercials, just one commercial, but I did a bunch of tags for these different stores, and I think I made $6,000 just on a series of regional Total Wine commercials. So that gives you any idea of how fucking ridiculous $4,000 is to voice a major character
in a major franchise,
major AAA title that's grossed, you know, north of $450,000, $1 million. It's utterly laughable. And the thing is there's some dude that works at that game company that's like, but she's replaceable. We can get someone to do it.
Well, that's definitely a attitude that lives in the game industry. But we'll get to the update after, because like there is an update.
The amount of time that I took to work on my talent and everything that I have given to this game.
I don't know. There's something weird going on.
Yeah, someone's in the water cooler.
I'm asking the fans to boycott this game.
Oh, good luck with that.
And instead spend the money that you would have spent on this game donating it to charity. I didn't want the world. I didn't ask for too much. I was just asking for a decent, dignified living wage. What they did was legal, but it was immoral.
Okay. Words from the actor herself.
I wouldn't have even made that like argument, because I don't think that has anything to do with the living wage. I think it's all to do with how much money the game actually makes and her role in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like one of the arguments that, you know, because obviously when a story like this comes out, whenever, or even if whether it involves... well, yes, whenever, but like whether it's a voice actor or an athlete or anybody that, you know, is in the entertainment industry that makes some kind of a stink about how much they get paid, there's always going to be a not insignificant number of people that are going to be like, oh, just shut up and get to work, and that's a good amount of blah blah blah. There's like always
that's
that kind of...
That's more than I make.
Yeah, there's always...
And what, are you better than me? It's like...
Yeah, it's like, oh, with this pampered person, all you're doing is speaking into a microphone for a couple hours, and you make thousands of dollars, blah, 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 blah. Like, there's always that kind of a pushback.
Yeah, for sure.
And particularly with respects to how voice actors and whatnot in the game industry go, one of the arguments, or I guess analogies, that I would make to try to get people to understand the, I guess, strategy, for lack of a better word, behind this sort of thing is similar to how I see actors do it. Like, you'll have an actor who's a relative no-name or whatever, and they star in some movie that has the potential to become a franchise. So, you know, that first movie they make like pennies, right? And then the movie pops off, and we are gonna option it for, you know, a sequel and blah blah blah. Your agent has, you know, skillfully given you right of first refusal for, you know, the sequel and whatnot, and, you know, we don't want to entertain the idea of you not being involved with the sequel, so we're gonna pay you substantially more than what you made doing the first one. You know, that's how a lot of actors in big franchises make their money. Like, they eat dick on the first one because they're nobodies, like, you know.
Well, I mean, they do. It depends on, you know, you're right. Nothing compared to, but they still make a decent amount of money.
No, and that, yeah, it's not like, I'm not talking like they're getting paid like $25
like and their chicken wings or anything.
No, they make money, but they don't make money.
Yeah.
Not until that second contract comes around. So that's kind of what I'm seeing this as, where it's like, okay, she was the voice in the first 2 games, and now that there's like this hotly anticipated third in this title that's made, as she noted herself, millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, even more than that. She wants the Hollywood treatment, I guess. She wants the like, I did the first 2 games for, friendly amounts of money, and I think I deserve, as the face of the voice of the franchise, that has sold a multitude of copies all around the world. I think I deserve a little bit more than that. Which I'm 1,000% on board with. But let's get to the rest of this story. Let me tilt this microphone a little bit. A pay dispute between the creator of a critically acclaimed video game series and its star voice actor reignited a long-simmering debate over wages in the industry. As is often the case in these sorts of disagreements, the details surrounding negotiations and casting for the upcoming game Bayonetta 3 are more complicated than what has been portrayed publicly. The feud spilled out into the open over the weekend when Helena Taylor, the star of the first 2 Bayonetta games, said she would not appear in the next iteration, set to be released for the Nintendo Switch on October 28th. She posted a series of videos Saturday on Twitter accusing Nintendo Co. and the game's developer, Platinum Games, of offering her a total of $4,000 to reprise her role. She said she rejected the lowball offer and asked fans to refrain from buying the game. And, we saw her video there, so we already heard the quote from her words.
Like, she's got an agent and shit, too. I mean, like, if they're truly saying $4,000, for her, that's actually probably even less. It's like maybe $3,200,
yeah.
You know what I mean, after taxes and shit, too, She might have a manager and an agent, depending on, how what her acting situation is like. Yeah.
The videos went viral, racking up more than 9.5 million views on Twitter. Taylor's story touched a nerve among gamers. Voice actors are beloved by fans, but fail to command anywhere close to what a Hollywood actor makes. Game actors have long complained of being underpaid and underappreciated. Some have said they receive little information about their roles until they show up in the recording booth. Yes, can confirm on that. Yeah. The industry operates in such clandestine ways that actors sometimes don't even know what games they're recording lines for until it's released. The tensions last crested during the contract negotiations in 2016 when the union representing many voice actors, the Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of AFTRA of Television and Radio Artists, orchestrated a strike that lasted nearly a year. One of the sticking points was residuals, meaning compensation for actors when sales of a game outperforms expectations. Voice actors gave up that fight in exchange for receiving bonuses based on number of sessions they work.
That was dumb.
Yeah, that was dumb. I mean, residuals in the game industry it's borderline unheard of in general.
They got nothing. The thing that's the problem, because the thing is, the game industry, it's just a completely different industry than the film industry. Because the thing is, if SAG goes on strike against the film, they can pull in the DGA, they can pull in the WGA, they can pull in the local IATSE, they can pull all these guys, and they can set it up to where, like, if you get really afoul of SAG, man, you can
shut down a production.
Fucking done.
You can shut down a production.
I mean? Yeah.
And like the voice actors can't pull in like the fucking Unity scripters of America.
No, the thing is, the game industry is I mean, half these studios are staffed with like kids fresh out of coding school. I just want to work in games. They haven't been turned to crap yet. They're working 80-hour weeks. They're being treated like hot garbage anyway. You know what I mean? And that's like a good proportion of their workforce. The idea of a union having any power over, it's like, well, we're gonna not allow you to use our talent. It's like, okay, well, we'll just use AI then, or we'll hire high school drama kids, or whatever it is. We'll find somebody. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's that. What are you gonna do when you're dealing with people like that? I guess this is it.
In the case of Bayonetta 3, the developer appeared to be determined to rehire Taylor, according to 2 people familiar with these are the updates. In the case of Bayonetta 3, the developer appeared to be determined to hire Taylor, according to 2 people familiar with the negotiations, as well as documentation reviewed by Bloomberg. Here's where their accounts differ. Platinum Games sought to hire Taylor for at least 5 sessions, each paying $3,000 to $4,000 for 4 hours in the studio, said the people who asked not to be identified because they aren't authorized to discuss private contract negotiations. That would make the total for the game at least $15,000. In response, they said Taylor asked for a six-figure sum as well as residuals on the game. Platinum declined, and following lengthy negotiations, took auditions for a new actor. Platinum later offered Taylor a cameo in the game for the fee of one session, which she turned down, the people said. So, it sounds like...
In an email, Taylor described this account as an absolute lie and said Platinum was trying to save their ass and the game. She said she stood by everything she said in the video. I'd like to put this bloody... So, this is the deal. I would imagine that they offered her between $3,000 and $4,000 a session, and she knows from doing the previous games that it was going to be about one session. And Platinum was like, oh no, it was going to be probably 3 or 4 sessions.
Yeah.
But they're saying that now. You know what I mean? And who knows how many sessions it would have actually been.
Yeah, like she probably recorded like those earlier games in one session.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's like, because the thing is, it seems like there's a lot of VO in a game. If it's like The Witcher, sure, there's a ton of VO.
You're doing multiple sessions for The Witcher.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know how much VO would be in Bayonetta, but I mean, you know, if the person's good, you know, you can blow through a lot of VO in 4 hours, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 4 hours is a long time. And so there's a good possibility that, you know, she's thinking, dude, I did one session for Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2. You guys are offering me $35,000 to $4,000 for a session. That's all you're offering me. And then they're basically saying, they see it as like, we're not lying. They're like, well, we will
do $4,000 a session.
Yeah, per session. We've looked at the demands and we thought it might be more than one session. You could make $15,000. You know, 6 figures to me at this point seems about right. I don't know. I mean, getting a residual on the game is
that's a fool's errand.
That's never going to happen in the gaming industry.
There's really typically only like one type of person in the game industry that gets residuals on game sales, and that's like the company founder.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it's just, you know, I mean, they could have, if they wanted to, they could have said, I imagine probably that they either asked for both those things and the idea that they might take less and get the other, you know what I mean? So she's like, I'll do it for $30K, and then you give me residuals in the game that we can come up with. Or you can pay me $115,000 right now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, for instance, like a lot of composers that work on AAA games, and this is back in 2006.
You've done sessions for some games, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you have firsthand experience with what VO sessions in gaming looks like.
Yeah, let's see. I did, what was it, Infinite Undiscovery, or not, the Bravely Default, one of those games where the guy was in town, and it was just pickup lines. But, I mean, he you know, they'd added some dialogue or something. But we did probably 20 lines or 30 lines or something like that, maybe. And we were only in the studio for, like, maybe an hour.
Yeah.
Tops. I mean, it probably wasn't even that. It probably was more like 30 minutes, and then I spent another 30 minutes kind of editing what we did, and, you know, out the door. But I'm just saying that, like, composers back in 2006, supposedly on a AAA title, a decently known game composer would get like $1,000 a minute. You know what I mean, for game music, which depending on the game could easily, you know, approach $100,000.
Yeah. And
you know, it's like I would say that the person that's like the lead in your game that's going to be doing, you know, like I don't think that's, I don't know where in 6 figures she asked for, but probably like I would say in the low 100s.
Yeah,
you know
I would venture maybe 120.
Yeah, I can't imagine that she would be that out of whack, and you know, I think that would be a reasonable amount for a game that's done that well. That she's already done the voice for the girl 2 times before, and you know,
yeah,
it's not like it's gonna make her rich. I mean, she's gonna give a bunch of that to her agent, and then it's gonna end up being
taxes.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is they've obviously got the money. That's the thing that's so fucking stupid. I mean, they've made a ton of money on the game,
and they aim to make more on this one. So like, it's a weird thing for them to like. It's a weird fight to pick.
And actually, what really sucks is that, you know, when they hired, I mean, she could theoretically sue them, because you know that when they hired a voice talent, they hired someone that sounded like her. Yeah. You know what I mean? They want someone, they probably went and found a British chick that sounded almost exactly like her. and they used her performance as essentially a getting off point for who they were next going to find, which is in its own way essentially a violation of her personal copyright on her own work. Because the thing is that like it happens a lot in sound when you're doing sound alikes and all that kind of stuff. Like if you record, like there's a really famous story with Tom Waits where they approached him, they wanted to use Tom Waits, they wanted to use one of his songs in a commercial, and he was like, no, fuck off. And they were like, okay, so they went and they hired a composer or whatever, and they made a song, and they hired a singer that sounded like Tom Waits. And he was like, here's the thing, this guy sounds like me. Whether you have me or whether you have a guy that sounds like me, when a reasonable person listens to this, they think this could be Tom Waits.
Yeah.
And no, I said no. You know what I mean? You can't use my style. You can't use the signature of my voice. I don't want to be a part of your stupid product. You know what I mean? And he won.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's something similar here, and they'll probably be like, well, that's just the character. And it's like, nah, I mean, if they come out with a completely different voice, that would, or another British chick with an obviously different voice.
At that point, like if they do mimic her voice and they say that's just the character, then that's even more strength to her cause that her performance has created that character.
Very much so.
And that is her value. You know? So, and it would be interesting to see if they, like, I don't know, the game isn't out yet. We'll find out when the game comes out if she comes out sounding like...
Well, that's the thing, too. And that's the thing that's like when people creators, these people with the money, like the exploiters, I guess, and it's like, when you hire Harrison Ford to be Han Solo, newsflash, Tom Brokaw, Harrison Ford is Han Solo. He's going to be Han Solo forever. You can hire a new guy, but it's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to know that, and that was an issue. And the new guy did his best, but Han Solo is Harrison Ford. And the thing is that there's only one Harrison Ford, and if you want Han Solo in your thing, you're going to have to break your checkbook out to get Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you know what I mean? And it's like, sometimes it's like that, It's like you put this girl in the game, she did a great job, you had her back, the game was a success. It wasn't like it was a one-off game that no one cared about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They loved it, they loved her, you made another one, it was even bigger, she was great. And now it's 3, and you got to break your checkbook out and try to figure out you got to come to it. Unless you want to just go in a completely different direction, which is
a totally different and valid thing. Like that's a valid thing too. One thing that I heard posited, which I think could be a possibility too, is that they just didn't want to use her anymore in general. Like I don't know, for whatever reason, but it's possible she may have had a contract clause with a right of first refusal. And so they forced her hand in refusing so that they could move away from her contractually.
By paying so little?
By offering so little money that they knew she would turn it down.
I don't think that they would, I don't buy that.
You don't buy that?
I don't, usually, as for my instance, a client like that would never box themselves into a corner with a talent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so... It is a franchise that they have experience working with her on in at least 2 other iterations of it. So I'm not really for certain what the details on her contract were. But, it could be that it's the game industry. It could very easily be that they box themselves in.
But because usually they err on the other side of that. You know what I'm saying? Because they want to be able to move around, and they want to be able to offer $3,000 and not have to negotiate with her if they don't have to. I'd just be really surprised if that was the deal. Usually a right of first refusal is like on the client side. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like not on the talent side. But who knows? Maybe they could have used that to get her to take less in previous games, but I still don't buy it. I think that it's probably, either, I think it's probably closer to just the fact that they offered her, it's a good session fee, come in, do your thing. And she's like, I'd like to get more money now because this game is so popular. And they're like, well, in honesty, we could replace you. You're not the only British girl in the world. You know what I mean? We can find another British girl with kind of a lowish voice, and it's all the same to us. And that's essentially what they did. And then pretty soon, what'll end up happening is AI will be doing all this. So
yeah.
It's a little ways off. You can hear it in the YouTube videos and stuff, but I guarantee you that the absolute microsecond it's remotely believable, the game industry will be all over it. You know what I mean?
If there's any industry that will be over
yes,
that,
they don't like dealing with this. The game industry hates singular talent. Can't stand it. You know what I mean? It works. It's anthema to the way the game industry works.
All right. Moving on. So, and we could talk about Andor, what we've seen of it so far. You're caught up. I'm caught up.
I'm caught up. Yeah.
So we can just segue right into Andor with this. So this is an article about a correction. About a week ago, someone on Twitter, what's his name? I think it's this dude here. Yeah, let's just read his tweet real quick. Brandon Katz. He said, "Last week I tweeted about Andor's audience demand lagging way behind other live-action Star Wars shows. While Andor is behind the others at this point in their respective runs, I input the data incorrectly and it's performing much better than the initial tweet showed. It has hit exceptional demand in several instances. I apologize for the mistake, 100% on me." So earlier, he had tweeted out this graph that had shown that Andor, the general interest, which I found suspicious to begin with, because I'm not really sure how you calculate that interest and what that interest is a measure of.
It was like rando guys on Twitter tweeting out graphics and shit. I'm like,
well, this dude like is a professional that does this, you know, for the Observer, the Wrap, Parrot Analytics. You know, he has credibility in this. He just fucked up this one time. So correction, Brandon. Oh, this is the worst possible font to put this correction in. Holy shit! I gotta highlight it in order to read it. Brandon Katz, Parrot Analytics data analyst that posted the graphic seen below concerning Andor's audience demand numbers, has issued a correction on social media. Apparently, while Andor is still behind other Star Wars shows in terms of demand, when compared to their respective streaming landscapes, it's performing much better than expected, even hitting exceptional demand levels. See the correction below. So, according to Parrot Analytics, Andor has had demand over the past 30 days of 31.3 times higher than the average streaming show at the moment. As seen in the graph below, this brings it, so that's, the graph below is erroneous. I don't think he ever released an updated graph, but his graph caused a lot of conversation. And it caused a lot of conversation amongst the Star Wars fandom about, is Star Wars Andor a good show?
Oh, I would say it's a fantastic show. I mean, I'm not sure that the Star Wars fandom would think that, but you know, I'm definitely buying what it's selling.
The funny thing is, and I tweeted this earlier, Star Wars let me actually see if I want to pull up the exact wordage of my tweet, because we've had conversations plenty of times in the past about, you know, what we want to see from Star Wars and what kind of Star Wars we like, and etc., etc. Here it is. So, Matt Jarbo tweeted, "Star Wars has become more grounded and interesting when it focuses less on Jedi versus Sith. I still love all Star Wars, but I really enjoy the boots on the ground stories." And my response to that was, the great irony from my end is I always wanted a grounded Star Wars focused less on Jedi, Sith, Skywalker stuff, and Rogue One was a working proof of concept. But I loved Obi-Wan and I'm very indifferent to Andor. Go figure. Yeah. And that's basically where, and it's weird to me that I feel this way, but that's basically where I'm at with Andor. Like, I'm somewhat indifferent to it. I think it has its high moments. It has some really great moments. But I think it also has a lot of issues with me that makes it hard for me to pay attention to it, honestly. Like, I find myself drifting out of the show while it's on and like doing other things. Like, I've never really super compelled by it. And I want to start by talking about, you know, those first 3 episodes. They dropped them all on the same day.
Yeah.
And, you know, I watched them all, and one thing that really struck me with it was the pacing and the transition between episodes. And I thought it was something that would probably change as we moved to releasing 1 episode per week, but it didn't. Like, the way that episodes end on the show is weird. Like, a lot of, and even the last episode kind of, or actually I don't even know if I fully finished the last episode. I probably did. I can't remember. That's how in and out of Andor I actually am. But like, I do like the setting. I like the general. I mean, I love the aesthetic. I think it looks beautiful, especially that heist episode. Like, there's a lot around it that I like and want to like, but there's just something about the pacing of it that I can't. It just doesn't grip me.
Well, it has a foreign film pacing to it. It has like a. It almost has like a Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, almost like or the American. Like I'm watching. That's what I love about it.
I like the American.
That's what I mean. I love the fact that it's not slow to me. I love luxuriating in its atmosphere.
Yeah.
I love the script. I think that Cassian is great. It's got.
Oh, he's fantastic.
It's got what it has beyond, like, we can talk about high points or whatever. What it doesn't have is low points. It doesn't have.
Oh, I mean, that's, to me, most of it is low points.
No, see, to me, it has no points where the special effects look fake. No points where it seems cheesy and weird.
No, I mean, so that's why I said, like, the aesthetic
like,
looks
you know what I mean?
beautiful. Like, and they do a lot of practical work at it.
It actually feels real. The whole thing feels real. I'm completely transported, and I love seeing, like, this side of the Star Wars world, because it feels like what they almost tried to do with the prequels, like what they thought they were going to try to do with the prequels, but just didn't come anywhere near. And what it also does is it brings back the cold kind of fascist Britishness of the Empire from the initial movies. You know what I mean? And it also brings,
almost comically so. Like, those motherfuckers are British. In this show.
Well, that's the thing. That's the way that it was.
Yeah, I know.
When I first watched Star Wars, and it also brings back that mid-century vibe that the Empire always had. You know what I mean? That you get the same sense from watching movies like A Clockwork Orange a little bit, or Logan's Run. That mid-century sci-fi aesthetic that, you know, there was going pretty hardcore in the first Star Wars, and that combo of the Britishness, you get that cold sensibility, and it feels extremely real, and it permeates through the whole show. And I think I love all that. I think that's really great. I think it's really cool that it hasn't, like, I will say that, like, anyone that feels like it doesn't feel like Star Wars, I could agree to people that with a more like it doesn't feel like what we
it doesn't feel like what Star Wars has developed into, because Star Wars is definitely developed into a bombastic, like, kid-friendly action franchise.
I mean,
and this
it
is not
always was that a little bit.
It was always that a little bit,
but completely. The thing is that, like, in the first couple of movies, there was this aesthetic. It was in there, and it was mixed in with other stuff. And as the movies went on, it became more and more kid-friendly. By the time we get to Jedi, we've lost most of this aesthetic. But, you know, those scenes in the Death Star where they're all sitting around the table and they're talking, and they're all British, and except for the one guy who gets choked out by Vader. You know what I mean? And it's all this how you know, kind of mechanical they all are, you know what I mean? In that sense, this movie goes back and it mines the shit out of that, and it feels so much more believable and real than the glimpses of like what the Empire that we've seen in some other movie,
that's one interesting thing about this show that I like, is that you get more of what, like, the inner workings of the Empire are like in this than you do in any other.
And it feels real. It doesn't feel fantastical or like mustache twirl.
Oh yeah, it's not cartoonish. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a bunch of. I love the scene of, like, the corporation that's responsible for security on that planet, and
that's great.
And there's, like, the guy who's, like, just super about being a company man. Like, those are our employees, and they're like, and that dude, that old Scotland Yard, like, dude, that's just like, I'm going to a conference. I don't want to fucking deal with this.
And he warns him, dude, and he was right.
He was right.
It's, like, so funny is that exactly, and it's such a deep dive. We've never gone that far into what will essentially be a villain character. You know, I mean, it's weird, like, seeing him sit there eat cereal with his mom. I mean, there was a lot of, like, kind of auteur cinema in this show, and it's not as exciting, I guess, as, like, but just seeing him eat his mom where she's just fucking, and he's just sitting there, you know, I'm like, dude, to me, this is way more motivation for this character than anything I saw out of Anakin in the prequels. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get this guy, what he's dealing with, and what he's gonna snap, and what, you know, this when he gets he gets, and Andor gets to jump on him. I love the scene where Andor kills the guy because like talk about pacing.
Well,
for
which
me,
guy?
I'm
taken aback at how quick he is to fucking murder. But
the thing is that he's.
I guess the first time it was at Axide.
In both instances, it was his only thing. It was he had to do it. You know what I mean? The guy.
Well, he had to do it the first time. It was definitely more of a choice the second time.
Well, no. He had to kill that guy. This is the thing.
Not at that particular moment.
Well, no. I mean, the thing is that once that guy told him, this is what I was thinking in my head, and then he pulled. It was amazing. It was an amazing moment for watching it because the guy's talking this, and I'm thinking,
hold on a second. So we're talking about major spoilers. Luckily, we've been vague enough about this to where this isn't super spoily. But major spoiler alert, we're gonna get a little bit more granular. We're talking right now about I guess second to last episode. Well, second to last recently aired episode, I should say. So before we get to that part, because that was an absolutely fantastic scene, there are like 4 different story tracks to follow in this. There's Andor and what he's doing. There's Stellan Skarsgård and what he's doing.
Who's also excellent.
And he's also absolutely fantastic.
The woman that plays his mom or his kind of mom, she is excellent. The episode I just saw her in, I was like, man. You know what I mean? The performances have been really great.
There's Mon Mothma and her husband, and like they're starting to kind of intermingle with I forget Stellan Skarsgård's character's name.
And Mon Mothma like not getting along with their daughter and her husband at all. It's just like, dude,
that's the kind
they're going into this shit with these characters that I'm just like, wow, you know what I mean? It's like they're really it's not.
That's the kind of shit that like that's usually where like my mind floats away. Like I have you're gonna have to explain the Mothma shit to me because I do not know what's going on with any of that.
Shit. Because the scene that they had at the party where she's talking to the guy who's on Chandrilla.
That was the last episode, right?
Yeah, this was the last episode.
Dude, I got so distracted.
That was a fantastic scene.
Really?
Yes.
I may have to watch it again.
The thing is like, it's
this show is so deliberately
talky.
Paced. You know, it is, and the talkie doesn't bother me. It's deliberately paced. It's a lot of stuff. Like, it's obviously trying to be a spy show. This is an espionage,
but it's also British.
It's very British.
It's written by a British guy.
It's the way this is a BBC show.
The way they talk is, and granted, a lot of it's the through line is there, but that was a great scene. Her husband, the weird dynamic. I mean, the funny thing is like,
and the fourth one is the security guy.
It's like this kind of shit, like knowing about this kind of like stuff about Mon Mothma. Is to me more interesting than finding out like how Han Solo won the Millennium Falcon. Like I didn't need to know that. It's great. I love the Millennium Falcon. I love Han Solo. But this is like this is a character that was on the margins that we don't know anything about. But if you've read any of the stuff in Star Wars, she's immensely important to everything that happens in
she's
Star Wars.
Financing the rebellion.
Well, yeah, but then she goes on to be the head of the New Republic for years after it's all there's a huge statue of her, that they make, and the woman that plays Mon Mothma is great. But I'll tell you, I'll go back to the scene where he shoots.
Well, hold on. Okay, I want to work up to that scene.
Okay,
because every scene that Diego Luna is in is fucking amazing. He's killing it. He's killing it in the show.
He's fantastic.
And I loved how they portrayed like the rebellion in its embryonic state, where it's just like they're literally the fucking Mujahideen or some shit. They're just dudes in the woods with literal. I don't know if I like or dislike the fact that their guns just look like AKs.
I know what they're trying to do.
I know what they're trying to do,
and
I like it, and I also don't like it.
I agree. It kind of takes me out, but at the same time, it's not any more than the little guns that they use in the first movies, where it's obviously like the German gun. I mean,
the Luger.
Yeah, they've done it before. I would have preferred a more exotic-looking gun. But
I gave it a pass, but it did pop out at me.
Yeah.
you know, he gets.
But his gun's cool.
His gun's cool. He gets talked into.
It's a total Deckard gun, though. It's a total Deckard gun from Blade Runner. It looks very similar to Blade Runner.
I don't remember what what Deckard's gun looked like.
You can look it up, but yeah, it's.
But I mean, he's holding the fucking thing right
you
there.
Look up Deckard's
I mean, that's
from
even
Blade
kind
Runner.
of the look of the Blade Runner poster there.
And loving Blade Runner, I like the Blade Runner aspect of this show.
There is that vibe.
Yeah.
There is that vibe, actually.
And that's the Blade Runner vibe, you know?
And I think maybe that's a part of it is like, you know, for people that say it doesn't feel like Star Wars, there are parts of the show that feels like Star Wars, parts of it where it's like, what am I watching here? And I think a part of that is, and I didn't really connect it until you just said it, it does feel Blade Runner. Like when she pulls up in that car, which looks super fucking sweet, by the way.
It's amazing.
Car.
The fucking CGI in this show, I know why Obi-Wan looks so janky, because honestly, all the guys were working on this show, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I didn't, like, again, awesome looking car, I loved it. But it didn't say Star Wars to me. It did feel kind of more like something from, you know, another 70s sci-fi thing, like a Blade Runner or something. And I get a lot of that aesthetic too, like, and maybe this is just a function of the fact that we're being exposed to parts of the Star Wars world that we were never exposed to before. So this is like all new stuff. And I should accept it as being exposed to a part of Star Wars that I've never been exposed to before. They were at an airport at some point, and I was like, what are they, at LAX? Like it just looks like a fucking random-ass airport.
They would have to be.
They would have to be an airport. Yeah, of course.
That's the thing is, like, all this stuff, like, there's a TV. They're, like, watching TV, and it looks like a kind of 70s old TV. And I was like, it's the news. And Juniper goes, they're watching the news. And I was like, they would watch the news. I mean, that makes sense.
Why wouldn't they watch the news?
I mean,
like, it's a weird eating cereal with your mom. Like, there's a lot of stuff like that where it's like, okay, I get, like, if this didn't have the Star Wars name attached to it, maybe my perception of it would be a little different.
Sure.
But I think because I'm watching a Star Wars show and I'm expecting a certain thing from Star Wars, as I've been Pavlovian trained to expect, like, you know, and maybe this is a tremendous credit to the show. It's subverting my expectations in a number of different ways that makes me really, you know, maybe I'm not reacting to it the right way.
Well, here's the thing about I will say this to your point. The entire time as they're making all this Star Wars content, everyone's saying, like, what, you know, they're going to have to branch out and make a different type of Star Wars show. And there's all this debate on, well, what feels like Star Wars and all the shit with The Last Jedi. It's like, it doesn't feel like Star Wars and all that kind of, like, various debate, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, at some point, they're going to need to make something that, like what I've heard people say, like, I want to see, like, a Star Wars horror movie. Like, what would that be like? And, you know, you hear that kind of stuff and you think, like, would that even work? And then this was described as a Star Wars spy movie. And I was like, well, that would be really different. And I was like, I mean, was that even something that could even work? I mean, is the style so endemic to Star Wars that, like, it just, like, the style of Star Wars that we're used to, it just would feel completely different. I wouldn't be able to. And honestly, the show is a lot different than the other stuff, but
it is,
and it doesn't feel like Star Wars in the classic sense. But I still really, really like it. I'm just like, yeah, it's Star Wars in the same world. I really, really like it. It doesn't bum me out. I'm not like, this isn't my Star Wars. Or, you know what I'm saying? I'm just.
And
like,
you know, I've never been one of those types
for
of
sure.
Star Wars
I understand.
fans.
It's a completely different take, but I do. And the thing is it's like weird because with this show, almost more than other Star Wars properties, maybe because it's so different, I'm kind of like, hey man, you know, we can have this and we can have this shit over here. It's like, this is obviously for adults because Juniper she's not down. She's like, you know, it's hard for her to watch.
Well,
you know what I mean?
This is a show. This is a Star Wars show that kids are not going to be into.
No, it's not for kids really at all. I mean,
and that's the funny thing.
British people talk, just stare at each other. For like there's like 10 minutes.
There was a scene where it was like a big tense argument between like the blonde lady and the black guy, and it's like, this isn't your jurisdiction. It's like, it happened to blah, blah, blah. Let me have access to those reports. I'm like, really? They're like going in on who's going to have access. And then like fucking Kyber comes in and he's like, you didn't turn in your reports.
That's where I recognize him from. It's Kyber.
That's Kyber.
He's fucking great.
He
Holy
is
shit,
fantastic.
Is that guy. Like, right in the Imperial. So, like, yeah. I mean, the show is just so well done that, like, the craftsman part of me just so appreciates. It's been a long time, honestly, since I've seen something Star Wars has made that's so consistently quality all the way through. Like, just like all the parts of it, like the CGI and the staging and the directing and the art direction and the acting and everything. And even the music, like you had said, the music doesn't feel, it feels singular to this. Like, it doesn't feel like classic Star Wars music, or even a take on that like The Mandalorian is.
Yeah.
It feels like almost like I'm watching like one of those Scandinavian shows with the Scandi soundtrack.
Yeah.
Which works. Those are cool. I don't. It doesn't bum me out. I don't think it would work. It works for this. You know what I mean?
As far as soundtrack is concerned, I think, I'm not saying it doesn't. I don't know if it works or doesn't work. I'm not saying that. Like, and you know my opinions on Star Wars soundtracks. It just sounds generic to me. Like, it sounds very like what I would expect to hear watching CSI or something.
It's weird because I understand what you're saying. I disagree, but I understand what you're saying. I would say that to me, I felt that way more about
Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan.
And I felt I have the exact same feeling, like,
because I feel like this is more that kind of European show, like a British, like it's on BBC4, kind of Scandi style orchestral kind of score, which I don't feel that as an American thing really at all.
Yeah.
But and for whatever reason, it works. Whereas I feel like Obi-Wan a lot of times did feel like I was watching CSI. Like, I'm hearing the cello ostinatos go dum 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 dum, and it's like, just kind of like that. There was moments of that where I was like, particularly when he rescues Leia from inside she's in the chair under the water.
Yeah.
That
I
music,
don't remember.
There was the music in there. I was thinking like, this music is legitimately bad.
It's just library music.
It
I literally
sounds
don't
like
remember
it
any
like
of the music.
I'm sure it wasn't, but it felt bad. I was just like, and I haven't had any of those moments with this show. In fact, in this newest episode, there was some kind of weird, like almost pop music that came on, but it felt alien. And in the same time, it kind of reminded me.
I'm gonna have to watch this latest episode again because I think I faded out too many times.
Like, I like this song, and it was like,
didn't they like when he walked into the bar in that first scene in the first episode? Weren't they also playing like a pop music kind of song?
It was a pop music. I don't remember that one so well, but this one particularly caught my ear because it sounded kind of like a variation of what they tried to do with like jazz and swing with the Cantina band.
Yeah.
They kind of did some weird instruments and put it through a flanger and stuff. It had that aesthetic, but it was almost like a pop thing. But it felt alien enough. It worked. But yeah, so to get back to that one scene, which I think it was really great, but I'm watching the show and the guy basically tells Andor, he's like, hey, let's split the money and just get out of here. You can fly the ship. I can't fly the ship. Let's go.
Oh, okay, that scene. I'm sorry, we keep sidetracked.
Yeah.
Andor joins the rebellion, basically. He gets Stellan Skarsgård.
He doesn't really join the rebellion.
Well, he gets paid as a mercenary.
He's a mercenary
to work with them in their first heist, which is to steal the Imperial bankroll, on that planet. And their whole goal, and like, and he gets introduced to that group. Like, the group dynamic is awesome. I loved all of those scenes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever watched The Bear on Hulu.
No, but I heard it was really good.
Fucking fantastic show. I love that show. And the dude you're talking about, that, spoiler alert, he ends up shooting, is the brother.
He's also the boyfriend from Girls. But
I haven't watched Girls.
What's her face's boyfriend?
I haven't seen Girls. I've only seen.
He plays an indie rocker musician, and he is borderline insufferable. You know what I mean?
Well, he's an awesome actor.
He is an awesome
actor. Everything I've seen him in, he is an incredible actor. He's great in this role.
Yeah, he was great. But so there's a moment where he's talking to Andor, and I'm sitting there, and he's looking at him, and he's talking, and I'm like, and I thought to myself, I was like, dude, he's got to kill this guy right now. And I was like, there's no way they move forward after this, because he's not going to go along with this guy. He's not going to go along with it,
yeah.
And there is no not going along with this guy. If he doesn't go along with him now, the guy has outed himself to him. He's going to try to kill them. He's going to try to... There's no way he talks him into going forward, and they continue to deliver the money. I was like, he's got one choice.
There's only one
he's got to kill this guy. And the second I thought that, the guy's in the middle of talking, he just goes on shooting.
That was the crazy part.
I was just like, holy shit.
That was the crazy
amazing,
part. Like, in the middle of that dude talking, he just, and you could see the look on his face was so like, good. I've got no choice. Boom. And I was like, this guy is like fucking a mass murder. Like, he needs to relax a little bit. But it was a great moment.
He was a fucking realist.
He is like the ultimate realist.
I was doing the raw calculations in my mind. I was in the same place, and I just wasn't expecting it. And I was like, I told Aaron, I told Juniper and Aaron, I was like, holy shit, he's got to kill this guy right now. There's no, and then literally he just takes his gun out and shoots him. And I was like,
there is no,
holy shit.
There's gonna be an update where that dude is gonna be like McClunky, and his head's gonna, he's gonna try to shoot Andor, and his head's gonna, and it's boom,
McClunky.
McClunky.
Totally, dude.
No, that was a legitimately great scene. Like I liked that group. I liked heist made sense.
It did.
It was like their escape was awesome. I love like the meteor shower.
Yeah,
and all
talk
of that.
about like creating set pieces that are beautiful and feel real.
And that's the interesting part, is because again, like the show has an amazing aesthetic and it looks cool, but up until that point, like it's been very deliberate. Like all of its moments were character moments. Like, which I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like, definitely not. That's kind of like the whole point of acting. But also the point is you put something fucking awesome. We're gonna talk about Rings of Power in a second. You put something visually amazing on the screen. You tie those two things together. Andor didn't do that until that was like the 4th episode.
I don't know, man. The 3rd episode had this scene with the shootout with the shit coming down. I love that scene.
That to me, that felt video gamey. I was like, oh, what? Like I could almost see like the little the flashing indicators on the floor where the thing was gonna fall, and I was like, oh, you got to make sure you hit the dodge button before that thing falls on you there.
I thought it was.
It was cool, but I just felt like that was like a little video gamey to me. I actually thought that the whole and it's weird, like I think that the larger scene of the security forces coming into the city and all of that was more of like a masterclass on creating a tense action scene without action. Like it shows them walking, like they're all banging on the things, totally. And they're walking through like the town looking, and like they're not paying attention to like everybody banging on the shit, and Andor is in the warehouse with what's his name, and he's got the little box or whatever, and it was all this really cool build up, and you had like these two characters. You had this guy who was straight-laced and like, I need to do this by the books and get like justice for our employees and blah blah blah, but like he's incompetent. Opposite of the guy next to him, who's like the ultimate bootlicker. It seems like he might actually be competent, like the Scottish dude. And it's like, holy shit, what a weird tag team here. Like, if this Scottish dude wasn't nearby, there's no telling how this guy might fuck this up. Solo. Yeah. But they still end up fucking it up, but only because Skarsgård had a plan, and they had a really cool out. And the whole sequence of like the car exploding.
I actually thought it was gonna get hairier than it got.
Me too.
But I liked how it went down. I liked how the guy roped the guy's ship to the thing, and he takes off, and it's because it felt. But it also didn't feel gratuitous. I guess that's another thing about the show is it has a lot of restraint. There's a lot of narrative restraint. It didn't feel like it was like, now it's time for things to get badass. It didn't have. It's never like. And I at this point
But that's the cool thing about that heist part is because when it did get to the point where it's like, now it's time for things to get badass, it did it in a way that like. It wasn't like The Mandalorian where all of a sudden 100 Mandalorians fall from the sky and there's like a shootout and all, which was awesome. Don't get me wrong. I love that.
That was cool. I loved it too.
This was like, okay, we got to escape, and you have this really fucking awesome looking canopy of meteors coming down, and like TIE fighters are shooting at them. And
those TIE fighters, dude, they actually did an excellent job of making those things fucking scary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because when they see it in the it's fucking tight, they all, I mean, it's like they scramble so many of them, and it's like the weight, but just a few of them in this scene, like really, it's like, oh, this is gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
I loved how they showed the guys get down to the cockpit, and it was the classic, Yeah. Oh, it was great, man. And then they're flying off, and of course I knew the little guy was gonna die. I was like, that guy's toast.
Guy. I mean, he for all of the praise and laudits that the writing gets for what it does, the one thing that I would say was a little on the nose was when that kid put on that red Star Trek shirt. As soon as he starts like talking all cheerfully about oh, what are you planning on doing, all that or whatever the conversation he had with Andor was, I was like, okay, he's gonna die. Like,
well, I mean, I knew he was gonna die earlier than that, because I was like, because he was the true believer, and I was like, he's the guy that gets. And then when he starts writing his book, I was like, Andor is gonna end up reading that book, and it's gonna extra fuel for his fire. You know what I mean? And it makes sense. It's a very, in this classic literature kind of way. It's, he's this mercenary. He meets this guy, and it doesn't rub off on him right away. It's gonna be because we actually see in this new episode some other shit. His mom essentially is like, and he's like, hey, I'm not. He's still Han Solo in this shit. At this point.
Yeah, he went. I did see that part where he goes back to his hometown.
Yeah.
And he, goes and talks to his mom and that droid, and he's like, "I've got enough credits. We got to get out of here."
Get out of here. And she's like,
And she's like, "Let's go." He's like, "We're gonna go in the morning." And at that point, I was like, "All right, something's gonna fuck up." Yeah. I can't remember what happened. I don't know if I watched it.
The way that they hinted at the fact. What I love about this show is that there's been so little exposition. It's been so refreshing. You know what I mean? It's like when they refer to something, they refer to it like they already know about it. It's like when she talks about not walking through the square. She's like, I don't walk through the square because of Clem. And you're like, oh shit. And it's the guy. And then he has the flashback earlier in the same episode when he sees the stormtroopers. He has kind of a flashback to, who I guess is Clem, is kind of his like adopted dad. You know what I mean? And then she says like, I never walk in the square because I don't ever want to see them. I see him hanging there to this day. And you don't know that they don't actually show it happen. They just reference it and they show a couple of little flashbacks.
What you're talking about.
Oh, dude, it's so masterfully done. You know what I mean? That it's like,
what
oh,
episode
shit.
was that?
It's the one that just aired.
Yeah, this is the one I need to rewatch more. I was super. I don't know. Maybe I was fucking drunk or something.
They may show us. They may show us it eventually, but they don't need to. I know what happened now. They show a part of them. Hanging. You see him seeing it, and they show him being mad about it very quickly in like flashes of his memory. But it's before you actually understand the whole deal. And she's talking about how this whole thing, and it's a great scene because she doesn't know that he's the one that did it. She's like, this thing has inspired her to fucking, and she's like, these guys, if they could hit the Empire, that means that we could actually do something, and I'm going to be a part of it. And he's like, no, it doesn't. Let's go. And he's like, I was the one. Let's get the fuck out of here. And and then she talks about how for 30 years she's avoided the square. You know what I mean? Because she, that's because she still sees Clem hanging there. And she's like, and then finally today when she heard that, I walked through the square. And it's like,
what do you think the character arc is going to be for the Kyle MacLachlan looking dude?
I have no idea. I mean, obviously he's like a Moriarty at this point. They're singing, they're building him up to be this Moriarty character, not Mortiarty.
Rick and
too
Moriarty.
Much Rick and Morty.
Moriarty being the classic nemesis to Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
For those that don't get the random ass reference.
It's like it's Dennis Miller.
Yeah, we're old over here.
Back before he was a dork. There was a day when Dennis Miller was cool.
Oh man, I don't even want to think about that. He is very far removed from cool right now.
Yeah. But I mean, like back in like 1992.
Yeah, that was about that. Yeah, about that area. Yeah, about that realm. Yeah.
I thought he was awesome. Like I liked his comedy. He was so sarcastic. He was like, ha ha.
Yeah.
Anyway. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the show so far.
Big fan of Andor. All right, I'm room temperature on it. It has its moments where it draws me in, but then obviously it has moments where I'm like distracted by too many other things. Yeah. So
too many superhero movies, dude.
No, it's
rotted your brain, bro.
Superhero movies are the same way for me, though. Like I watch it all, but like I get the same way. Like I but ADHD, it takes a bit to suck me into something. Yeah. Like I had no problems with getting drawn into either House of the Dragon or Rings of Power. No problems at all. And Rings of Power is a pretty deliberately paced show in and of itself. So I guess it just depends on this. I know what it is. I think at least I know a component of it, and I realize this. And we've talked about this at some point in the past. I think I realized this recently playing Cyberpunk again, and it's just that like it's so much easier for me to get into fantasy than it is to get into sci-fi.
Yeah,
and
I can see that.
Granted, Star Wars is fantasy. It's just
but
in a sci-fi setting.
I would say this is the
closest
Star Wars has ever been in fantasy.
Yes, that's why. That is why.
This is science fiction.
This is science. This is Star Wars. That is a perfect way to describe this show. Andor is Star Wars as a sci-fi show.
Yeah.
And it's tough for me to get it. It's not impossible, and I do like sci-fi, but it's tough. It is notably harder for me to get into it.
Yeah.
As opposed to
I get
fantasy.
that.
I can get into any kind. You got a sword and some dragons or some shit, I'll get into it pretty fucking easily, you know? But sci-fi it takes a little bit. So I think that's probably what it is for me with this show. And even with the other Star Wars show that it's flagrantly more fantasy, it's easier for me to get into.
But let's talk about something we can definitely agree on what the show is God, it looks beautiful.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
The sets and everything. I really think that they need to back off the volume with the rest of these shows a little bit. I think that
I mean that's like a budget. I think it's a budget thing too. Like they're producing like, and it's.
Do you think
it's
the show is way more expensive than Obi-Wan or
no?
Or
it's
The
just
Mandalorian?
it's just that Disney, as the parent company that's making all this shit, they have too many productions going on between their Marvel shit and the Star Wars stuff. And the Star Wars stuff is kind of, you know, there's a lot of things they announced that just kind of die, like Rogue Squadron. You know,
they really should
Champions of the Republic or whatever that one was called, Rangers or Heroes or whatever it was
called. They shouldn't announce stuff. They should just like do like Beyonce did with Lemonade. They should just be like, "Here's a show.
Here it is.
We made it.
Just drop it.
Live it up. Watch it or not.
Yeah.
We don't give a fuck. We'll make another one."
Yeah. So like, dinner and a Devon stream. Yes, please. Yo, what's up, Hans? Welcome. We haven't talked about Rings of Power yet. So
we're about to.
We're about to talk about Rings. We're wrapping up this Andor stuff, but shit, what were you just saying? I was
saying that I think that some of the Star Wars shows going forward would be a little bit. I mean, honestly,
the budget. That's right, the budget.
It's kind of like.
Let's take a look at the budget.
Go into the places and shooting the stuff always looks.
It always looks better.
You know what I mean? It's
always looks better.
I mean, yeah, I understand you can't go to Mustafar. You know what I mean? But you know, and maybe there's times that's the volume is amazing for places you can't go. But you know, I think you got to intercut it. Like I feel the volume was just way too prevalent on Obi-Wan Kenobi. There were so many scenes that like I think it would have been because like some of these like settings of like. On Coruscant that they're on, you know that they're just some like weird train station in England somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was built in the 60s and looks all fucking futuristic from a 1967, you know.
So it says the budget is between 15 to 25 million per episode. That's just an estimate. And that puts it at a similar budget to The Mandalorian and Obi-Wan. So, and they say this is surprising because the show feels like a movie, which is true. Like it
looks fucking amazing.
It has a better visual aesthetic than Obi-Wan and even The Mandalorian. Like The Mandalorian looks great at times, but I do think Andor just has a better visual vibe.
Yeah.
And a part of that could be not using the volume, but a part of it could just be the you know, the aesthetic that they were going for with a spy show opposite a fantasy romp.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a better production design. Honestly, I think just a better like breakdown of where they're going to shoot and why and what they're going to shoot. Because they shoot a scene on a beach in this newest episode, and it's obviously some kind of like Ryza style planet to make a TNG reference.
Yeah.
It's like he's kind of gone there to party a little bit, but it and it's cool because it's this planet and it feels real. There's all these wacky aliens like on a beach vacation, but there's all these people and everyone's dressed kind of weird. But it also still kind of feels like England. It's like
an English beach.
Well, yeah, and you've seen like when people go to the beach in England, you've seen movies. It has.
Yeah, I've watched Broadchurch.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's like it has that feel to it too. But it feels alien because that feels alien.
It's England.
To me. You know
it feels alien because it's England.
That's an alien beach to me. You know what I mean?
I wonder how English viewers of Andor would feel about it.
Well, England's pretty small. They're probably like, oh, that's the train station. Blah blah blah, and that's the
Oh, they shot this 2 miles down the road.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, that's the so and so.
How many more episodes of Andor do we have?
I think there's quite a few. I want to say I think there's 12 per season or something.
12. Okay, so we've got a few to get through then. All right, cool. Well, shifting gears from Andor, let's talk about a show that has run its course for its first season, Rings of Power. And we both have watched all episodes.
Yes, we have.
Well, let's just start with the initial thought. What did you think of this first season?
I gotta say, I was disappointed.
Disappointed.
And I made a big problem. I made a big mistake in watching this show.
Oh,
I saw the first episode and I was stoked. And so then I started to like watch YouTube videos about like second age.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
I know second age and a first age, and I went way down a rabbit hole. I learned all about Feanor and the Silmarils.
Hans, it would actually be. I was kind of hoping you'd be able to jump on a Discord and get involved in this because you and H Barts are MME's resident Lord of the Rings loreologist. And you could definitely speak to your interpretation of this show based on what you know and all the lore. But I know just from speaking with you that you absolutely love this show. So it's a real fascinating thing. And for me, like I didn't get super deep on the lore. I did, ironically, like one of my best friends, Holly. Yeah. She's super deep in the Lord of the Rings. That has all sorts of books and shit on it. And for years she's been talking to me about this and that, all these name drops that I just let fly in and out of my ears, like the Maiar and the Valar, and I was like, whatever. Like it just sounded like Stephen Colbert doing a bit to me,
Yeah.
But after watching a few episodes, I was like, I gotta do some Googling. So like I started looking up wiki page and I started reading about this and that, and it was interesting, and you could definitely get to the lore. There's just so much of it. Like there is a lot of lore that you could dive into with this, and the show definitely, by nature of what they did and didn't have access to use, they definitely take some liberties. But
yeah,
is that what contributed to your disappointment with the show?
Yes, a lot of it. Because I felt the show was it kind of like, I mean, I would say Erin doesn't know any of that shit, and she was like, God, the show just feels like the show feels to me like it's just spinning its wheels. Like there were so many episodes where it's moving kind of slow, and and it's like, and I would agree there. I mean, visually it was really cool, but honestly, I don't buy the visuals as much as the ones in Andor for whatever reason. Some of them I don't feel. I mean, they're probably superior to the Peter Jackson movies. Not all the shots, but
not all the shots, but
you know what I mean. But a lot of them are because there's some there's some shots in those Peter Jackson movies that don't hold up, but there's a lot of them that do. You know what I mean? And they're having to recreate some crazy shit. But it's just knowing what I like, learning about this stuff just kind of bums me out. You know what I mean? It's like when I think about the story we could have got. I'm just kind of like, I was like, I'm not gonna not watch the show. As I started to become more disappointed, where I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I was like, this isn't. And then I realized, like, okay, this is not gonna hem anywhere close to what Tolkien actually wrote about any of this shit. They're basically, it's like they've created an alternate history of. Because that's the thing, I guess, that's frustrating on some level. What is your 1 million for incline bench?
Wait, hold on a second. My only complaint about the show is that the last 2 episodes felt rushed. The last 2 episodes, I don't know. Well, I guess maybe the last episode felt rushed for certain. I don't know if the next to last episode felt rushed. Not to me, at least. That was the eruption of Mount Doom. And I think that, obviously that was like the penultimate episode. Like that's what everything was kind of building up towards. I didn't feel rushed is a weird word to use for a show that was so deliberately paced. Like you said, I heard a lot of comments about how the show felt slow and like it was spinning its wheels or dragging its legs here and there. Didn't quite know what it was actually building to.
Yeah, I would say the show felt aimless to me, just from a general. Like taking everything I know about the Lord of the Rings or the Silmarillion out of it. Yeah. The show itself felt aimless to me, and it comes into focus a little bit towards the end, obviously, as it comes together. But it's laying a lot of groundwork, I guess, for future stuff. But the thing is like, it's funny. The first episode I thought was really good. You know what I mean? I was more interested in the retelling of the first 15 minutes of the first stage.
The first stage.
That was the most interesting part of the entire show for me. But I mean, I see your comment. Let's see, really get into forging. Yeah, I mean, I guess that was probably Sauron the minute he forged that sword in Numenor. Don't worry about the sword we could have got. I kind of, in a way, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I kind of disagree though, because the thing is that like, that this is a completely different story. You know what I mean? It hits some of the same beats, but it's a completely different story. And the Lord of the Rings that we see in the movies isn't a completely different story. It's the same story. It's just a slight adaptation. It's kind of smoothed out, but this is radically different. You know what I mean? And it's what I came to terms with it by saying like, this is just Tolkien jazz. You know what I mean? It's just
a little bit.
It's Tolkien jazz. We got some hobbits.
I think it's
we'll throw those guys in there.
I think it's a little bit more focused than that, honestly. And It Be Ultra, welcome to the stream, but I have no idea what you mean by your comment or your question to Justin.
Yeah, I don't either.
I wanted to see Halbrand really forging. Yeah, I think it doesn't bother me as much. Is because when the show was
fanfic
announced, I was already calling it fanfic. Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of the thing. Like, I contend that there are probably really only 6 people in the world that have ever read the Silmarillion. Everybody else just pretends that they read it.
I didn't read it.
Yeah, but I mean, I think a lot of the animus that the show gets comes from people that like are comparing what it does to the lore that they're familiar with from either the Silmarillion or from the footnotes of those other books. And it's interesting. It's an interesting parallel between like that and how people responded to Game of Thrones, base versus the show versus what the books had done. And in my personal view, like, and I said this with Game of Thrones, and I keep it with Rings of Power, is that like the show's its own thing. Like, there was never going to be a one-to-one representation of what goes on in those books and footnotes and napkin scrawlings or whatever they were using to build this story, because it would just be a borderline impossible task to do. But to the extent of which they did do it, I think they did it as well as you can get. Like, to me, a lot of what makes a lot of that lore shit cool is the visual representation of it. Like, a lot of that old art, I forget the artist's name. Hans, you know the artist's name. You could drop the name in the chat. The dude who did all of like the paintings for Lord of the Rings back in like the 70s and shit. Like, when I watch this show, I see a lot of that aesthetic on that screen. I see, and it looks angelic. Like, it's high fantasy. Like, this show gives you high fantasy. Like, it's bright. It's celestial at certain points. Like when at that first episode, when that fissure opens in the sky, the elves are going to Valinor, and like the fucking elves are singing that song. And it's like, holy shit, this is like, and Tolkien was a very religious person, and obviously Lord of the Rings has its allegories with biblical lore. Like, that was a scene where I like felt that connection. Like, this is like some religious experience that's happening here with these fucking elves, and like, is this? And also, I also benefited from watching those first 2 episodes in a theater. So I saw it on an HD.
And those were probably the first episode, especially, was the best episode of the whole series. But in my opinion, here's the thing. I wish in some ways I wish I hadn't learned anything about it, because I would just watch it and be like, oh, cool. And then when someone tells me like, oh, what is this? I'll Die on the Hill that Peter Jackson ruined Faramir in the movies. Yeah, I mean, Faramir, I don't know that much about the difference in the movies and the books, but I know a new version of the Silmarillion is being released with illustrations that Christopher did. That's cool. I know that, like, for instance, Isildur in the movies is nothing like Isildur in the books. You know what I mean? Isildur in the books is not that bad of a guy. You know, the fact that he can't give up the ring, no one can give up the ring. Even Frodo can't give up the ring. They say in the books, no living person will ever give up the ring. You know what I mean? It can't be done.
Yeah.
You know? But here's the thing. The show
Well, except for Tom Bombadil, I think he didn't.
He's
think
not
much
interested
of the
in
ring.
it, but he's
Yeah,
not.
but
He doesn't actually get it, I don't think. Or if he does, I don't know. There's a question of Tom Bombadil isn't like the author or maybe God or
it's like
Louvatar or whatever.
Yeah.
But so there's several things like when you learn about the fall of Numenor, like it's fucking so epic.
Yeah.
And what we're gonna get in the show, like I don't see how they're gonna remotely get there with the show. They could still, you know what I mean?
I mean, this show has several seasons ahead of it.
Yeah, but it's like they would have to bring the ships over, a huge fleet, like you're talking about doing. And maybe that's the thing. But then I don't want to give it. I don't want to spoil alert it because but basically,
you're afraid that this show can't get more epic.
Not to what actually happens, to what actually causes the fall of Numenor. I'm not sure they're gonna go there. I don't know because it's what actually happens in the books is epic on a fucking scale that, you know what I mean, is so and it doesn't seem like we're gonna get there, and I'm just kind of like, oh, okay. And they've already compressed the shit so much, like and then
so much of what you're talking about has absolutely nothing to do with the show, though.
Yeah, but it's just kind of like it's hard to explain unless it's like you're like, this is what we're gonna do, this is the story. Man, that's kind of dumb. And it's like, that's the way I feel. I'm just kind of like, I kind of wish it didn't do that. I kind of wish it did the thing that the guy on YouTube says the book actually did.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean?
Don't listen to the guy on YouTube.
Well, the guy on YouTube is he's just telling the story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But honestly, I've actually enjoyed episodes of that guy just showing me stills and telling what happens in the fucking story more than episodes of Rings of Power. You know what I mean? Because
I get that. I mean, there's a reason why Lord of the Rings is the franchise that it is.
Yeah.
There's a reason why it's like, the literary legend that it has become. It's because like it is a world steeped in lore, and a tremendous amount of modern day fantasy really stems from it.
And what's up with Celebrimbor being so fucking old? You know what I mean?
Hold on a second. So we Celebrimbor gonna go on a one-man army for revenge. Oh yeah, you were mentioning Celebrimbor the other night. He showed me a picture of what Celebrimbor
he's not
looked
old.
like. No, I mean that's one thing that I will say.
What
like
the fuck?
the elves in the show are off, and I like Elrond's character. But
yeah, I like the actor, and I think that even as like a younger Hugo Weaving, it almost works. But they don't look like They don't
seem elf-like.
No.
And the second I saw Celebrimbor, I was like, "Is that Pat Sajak?"
Yeah,
like he kind of looks like Pat Sajak.
First off, they all have short hair.
They all have short hair.
That's Peter Jackson already set up, and Peter Jackson's elves look like elves the way Tolkien describes elves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Tolkien describes them. He spends a lot of time describing what they look like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the guys, they got all short hair, like they're like
they all have alt-right haircuts.
Yeah,
like really weird.
What's Finrod? Finrod has got like a buzz cut. He looks like he's a football player. Like, what the fuck is going on? You know what I mean? And then also, like, there's a thing that happened in the final episode that kind of ruins a part of Galadriel's arc through the Lord of the Rings. And I'm just kind of like, why would they do that? Like, what the fuck is going on? There's just a lot of things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Isildur was a great man. He brought samplings of the tree to Middle Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you with that. I don't know how they'll get there, but we'll see if that can. So I think he's talking about
Numenor.
Numenor, yeah.
So the thing is
well, I mean, okay, so
I don't want to give. I
want to peel back away from like what the show didn't adapt from the books, because honestly, I really don't care about that personally. Like what they put on the screen, I enjoyed the living shit out of. Like I thought it looked beautiful. I thought all the actors did really well in their roles. My personal favorites were Elrond and Durin. I think that every scene that they had was great. And I like Disa too. She was great.
I mean, I think everybody was good on the show.
Yeah.
I just think that some of them, like, it didn't get the most to work with. But I think that, like...
Well, I mean, there was a lot, like... So, and I thought about it for a while. Like, there were a lot of characters that the show was, like, trying to weave stories through. And I was wondering, like, we've had a fantasy-based show that featured a shit ton of characters before that, managed to weave intricate stories between all of them and keep all the characters interesting and relevant and keep them all developing. And like, what made Game of Thrones more successful in that regard than Rings of Power, considering Game of Thrones had a much larger cast of characters to follow than Rings of Power did? Like, what am I missing here? And I think, like, when I was trying to think of the comparisons that could be made between the two shows about what they do great and what they don't do great, and I talked about this on a stream with Raya and Zodrider and a few others. Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon subsequently, you know, they have really great character moments. Like, you know, it's all about the acting and the interactions and the intrigue. I also described it to my roommate Marty as like a fantasy Jerry Springer, where you know, there's a lot of its draw comes from, you know, the oh shit water cooler moments, you know, that characters have with one another. You know, whether it's Tormund and his infatuation with Brienne, or Brienne and the bathtub scene with Jaime and her arc with Jaime and Jaime's arc with her, and all these other sort of great interaction and development moments that make that show great. And Rings of Power kind of lacks that, but Rings of Power is like, it's a fantasy narrative that's very, for lack of a better word, generic. Like, it's not about like political intrigue, even though that plays a role here and there. Like, the focus isn't about that, and the focus isn't about you know, epic character moments, even though you get a couple here and there, particularly with Durin and his father, and, you know, with Elrond. But what Rings of Power is about is it's almost like a child explaining like an epic scene to you. It's about like big moments, you know, like, and that's why like the visual aesthetic of the show works so well with it. It's about and then you know the classic and then you go to Numenor and like there are ships and statues. It looks cool. And then you go to the Southlands and there's the tower. And there's this and that. And then you go to I forget the name of the dwarf kingdom, and it's underground and they're mining, and then you have to break rocks with the prince to get an audience, and then you go here, and it's a lot of and you're getting pulled around so often to these epic set pieces and these great visuals and the storyline that we know that's about like a dark wizard that might be coming back, and we need to figure out like where's this dark wizard and blah blah blah. It's very classic. Yeah. Like, you know, it's almost like there's an evil wizard with an orb, and the hero has to crush the orb and blah blah blah. It's super classic in that way. It's very far removed from what, you know, we've been used to with Game of Thrones and shit like that. So I think I kind of like, and I understood that very early on, like, oh, this isn't Game of Thrones. This is like something much more childlike, I guess, for lack of a better descriptor, in how it's presenting its story. And I appreciated it for that. I liked it for that. And I think it fit with the high fantasy atmosphere of it too. Not everything needs to be dark fantasy. Not everything needs to be grizzled or anything like that. And this was a show that kind of respected that. It respected the I guess, vision of Tolkien, I think, to most degrees, even if they kind of took liberties here and there. And they had to work with the Tolkien estate, so clearly the Tolkien estate, you know, approved of a lot of the different things that they decided to take with respect to how they portrayed elements of Tolkien lore. But I think that once I realized that it was going to be that kind of a show and not like a Game of Thrones type, you know, epic, I just kind of enjoyed it more.
Yeah, he did. He canceled the sequel. He just like, what was the point?
Hold on, let me catch up on. You're popping off, Hans. You're popping off. Let's see. I actually think they did Galadriel pretty well in the last episode. I think they did her well in the last couple episodes, honestly. Like, I understood people's comments about how she seemed not to have much of a personality, but I think those last couple episodes, especially her interactions with Adar, I think that kind of fleshed out where she was mentally, and you kind of see a lot of vulnerability, especially in that last episode.
Well, the thing about it
with her arc,
that, like, so when Sauron says "join me," does the Kylo Ren thing, you know, with their, you know,
yeah.
The thing is that, like, so in the Silmarillion, the reason, so Fëanor is Galadriel gets along with Fëanor, you know what I mean? At first, like she's really ambitious, and she actually, there's a point at which that I guess she could theoretically, because her father Finarfin, he stays in Valinor. He's like, nah, fuck this, I'm not going over there. But both Fingolfin and Fëanor, they go to Middle Earth to find the Silmarils and whatever, and Galadriel goes with them. You know what I mean? And and at first she's on board with Fëanor and his whole thing, and until they get to this, they get to the outpost of Aquila, something that's the outpost of these elves, the sea elves, the Teleri, and they have a kinslaying because they want their ships. Yeah. And they're like, we're not giving you the ships, and Fëanor's like, oh yeah, were you giving us the ships? And they have a huge fight, and like the thing is that it's really shitty, and Fëanor's a huge asshole, and at that point, Galadriel's kind of like, okay, dude, Fëanor, I'm out, I'm not. But then she still decides, like, even after all that shit, Fingolfin shows up with his guys, she still decides to go to Middle Earth, and her whole reason for going is that she wants a kingdom to rule. She's ambitious, and she wants a land to rule. Now, you don't get any of that in the Rings of Power.
Well, because that's too much shit, man. Not really. It is. That's a lot. Like, that's a whole season by itself.
No, but like you don't get the sense that her driving character thing is ambition.
No, but
she's trying to find Morgoth. Or Sauron.
Or Sauron. But they tried to translate ambition into, like, the drive is the same, the motivation is different.
Yeah, but it comes full circle though. My point is in Lord of the Rings, the whole point when she gets the ring
is that she passed the test.
She says no, and the thing is that's why she can go to Valinor.
Yeah.
Before that, and the thing is,
but we don't. But again, this is we're talking about
in the show, my point is that, like, why would they do this? In the show, Sauron says, join me and we'll rule the whole world. And she's like, no. But the thing is that that's it. She just did the same thing.
Not quite. Because I think that, so they obviously spent an entire season building up her character as, someone who has touched the darkness, right? And she, when she gave that speech to fucking Adar about, how she's gonna fucking keep him alive and kill or whatever, like, that shit was dark, like, that was disturbing to me. Like, I think that, and again, this is just the first season, like, there are places they could take that character from here that could still eventually lead to that moment, right? I think that, this is, for lack of a better word, and this could be the positive, this could be the negative, you can take it however you want. It's television writing, right? Like, you have like a big part of the show that they were playing on from moment 1 or maybe episode 2. Who is Sauron? As soon as that meteor crashed, who is Sauron? Who's the stranger? The stranger Sauron? Somebody Sauron. Is Halbrand Sauron? Is Disa Sauron? Like, somebody actually thought that. Like people were trying to figure out, like, who is Sauron? And as Secret Sauron Halbrand was going on his adventure with Galadriel and doing all of these things that kind of make you feel like, okay, maybe he's not Sauron. Like, you had to have that culminate in a moment on screen where those two characters have that kind of collision, that kind of interaction. And and just by virtue of the fact that Sauron is who he is, you can't really have that interaction without having that, like what you say, you passed the test moment, blah, blah, blah. Like, if they were gonna restructure the show in such a way, and again, this is just based off of how they felt they wanted to tell this story. And you could tell a million different stories a million different ways in Lord of the Rings. Based off of how they wanted to...
The quote, she has interaction with Sauron in the books. Go down, actually. I think it's...
Hold on, let me catch up on these comments real quick. My knowledge on dwarves and their history is mostly is the most fuzzy stuff in my head. There's a lot of drama in Game of Thrones. I mean, that's the point of the series. Lord of the Rings isn't drama, not like that at least. Well, not on that scale. If we talk about Fëanor, well, that's another story. Khazad Dûn, yeah, that's the Dwarven Kingdom. Rings of Power has more defined line of good versus evil. I mean, it's biblical allegory. Didn't Tolkien cancel a sequel of Lord of the Rings that he was writing because he felt it was too depressing? Yes, I own that book. Hello, play boomer shooters. Hello, Gabrielle. Always asking me to play boomer shooters. I might next time. There's actually a Doom type game that I want to play. She never fully trusted him. Remember the 3 hairs? That's right. I forgot about the story of the hairs. She took no part in the Kingslaying. Wait, Galadriel and Sauron engage in a short but heated battle of wills, trying to dominate each other's minds. Sauron tries to sway her, but she defies him with scornful words, mocking him as a servant of Morgoth with no power. Found one quote I was thinking of. I need to find more. Where is that quote from? Is that from the Silmarillion? I think on Fellowship of the Ring book she went into some details. Okay, so I mean, there was at some point defined a battle of mental wills with Sauron.
Yeah,
so
but it's just
that's what we saw on the screen.
Yeah, I
So-
mean, they brought a romantic subplot into it, and I don't think that's.
They didn't really play the romantic
Well,
stuff
no, I mean
up.
that's what she would be his queen. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And they would rule the world. That was essentially he was making the same offer. You know what I mean? You want to rule? This is and
Are you hot by any chance?
a little bit, yeah. And I don't know. It just kind of seems that I think they could have done a battle of the wills and not had those elements, and it wouldn't have been an issue. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
again, I think that's good or bad. I think that's just a part of TV writing. Like they definitely wanted to play the kind of will they won't they game in those last couple of episodes between Halbrand and Galadriel. When they're sitting in the forest and she's like, I felt it too, and they're kind of furtive glances. They were definitely playing that angle, but they didn't play it. They didn't play that angle that strongly, I guess, if that's the word I want to use. I never got the romantic vibe. Sauron was just manipulating her. Well, you thought Halbrand was Sauron early on, so. But for me, at least, I'm speaking only to myself. I was one of those rubes that was like, I don't know, maybe the stranger is Sauron. Yeah, I know that's on the nose. I was a little too on the nose.
I thought it was Halbrand, but you know what I mean? At the same time, after a while, I was like, who knows who it could be?
Yeah.
Maybe we haven't even seen him yet. Because the thing is, and maybe Kimasabi knows better, when Sauron shows up, he usually shows up in an elf form, correct? Or they call it a fair form.
I think so, yeah.
But he's usually an elf, you know what I mean? He's not usually a man. And I don't really know how they're gonna, unless they actually go full Fall of Numenor with the next season, and do all the stuff that's in, that's gonna do some of the things that happen in the Fall of Numenor. That's how Sauron actually gets fucked up, and he can't take a fair form anymore. He can't change forms, and so basically from then on, he has to just be a dark lord. He's this hideous, monster, guy.
I think season 2 is going to improve a lot. I think they just made him a man. I think they made him a man just to throw people off.
Yeah,
I think so too.
I agree.
I think so too. And it worked. It worked.
They were a little bit. By the time he says it's a gift to Celebrimbor,
Yeah.
you know it's
Well,
Sauron.
the second, the second it was like, oh, Halbrand is Sauron confirmed, to me was because it's totally how they shot it. That first, it's that scene, but it's the start of it where Celebrimbor is standing in his tower, and the camera does that slow horror movie kind of pull towards him, and then he's like, who's there? And then he's silent. And he walks out. He's like, "Who's there?" And Halbrand is standing there in the corner. And I was like, "Oh, motherfucker, Sauron! Oh, he is."
The funny thing is that in the books, what is his name? Is it Alatar? Is that his name? The bearer of gifts. That's what he comes as. He comes as an elf, and he's the Lord of Gifts.
Oh, this is your cable.
And his name is Alatar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's and so that when he
Yeah.
says it's a gift, that
was
is
the
a nod
clue
to
for people that knew,
Alatar.
yeah.
He's not going to be Alatar, but he's Sauron.
I literally covered my mouth when he said that. I just loved hearing it. Yeah, Anatar. Yeah. Yeah, I think that. In my view, the first episode was a great one. I loved, and I don't disagree with you about the first age thing. All of those quick shots that they shoved in a montage,
Oh my God,
the
yeah.
dragons fighting, the fucking war with her brother, and all the dead elves floating in that Red Sea, all of that shit looks so fucking cool. And I was like, oh man, I just want to watch this now.
Yeah.
You know,
But then it's like over here. I'm like, oh god. It's like
no, I still. I mean, I was in it. I never was not in it.
I have a question. Let me ask.
But well, just one thing real quick though. So in my view, I did love the 9th episode the most. Like when everything came together, like there were allusions to what was going to happen in earlier episodes that I just didn't understand until that 9th. Like when they captured Arendor, the Black Elf guy, and you know all his dudes were digging the tunnels. I was like, what are they digging these tunnels for? Whatever. They probably just need them to travel to places and avoid the sun. Sure, they're orcs. I get that. And then like in that one scene where Adar is talking to the orc and he's looking at the sun and he's like just basking in it. He's like, it'll be the last time we see it and blah blah blah. And I was like, what is he talking? Is he gonna like blow up the sun? Is he gonna pull a Mr. Burns and put like a sun thing over? Like what is he talking about here? But then, like in that 9th episode, I thought like the battle with the orcs between the humans, I thought that was cool. I love the orcs in the show, by the way. They were orcs.
I like the orcs. They were good. The makeup was all really good. I love the fact that it was actually dudes in like makeup.
And I like their like Cockney kind of accents, and they just seem like orcs. They weren't.
Did you watch that video I posted where it was orcs with a regular man talk like?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh my god, it's so funny. It's from Lord of the Rings, and they replaced all the like. I have no. They replaced it with like he's like. Hey, I'm hungry. Yeah, me too.
Orcs with just like American accents.
He's like, we haven't had anything but moldy bread for 3 days.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
When are we gonna get some meats? And every time they're like,
I need to see that.
Let's get them, boys. He's like, let's go, boys. He says it like, oh, God.
Did you post that in like the group chat?
Yeah,
okay,
I'll the D&D group chat.
I'll look it up then.
Yeah, I agree. The orcs were one of the best things in the show.
Yeah, I felt that way too for certain. But again, just real quick, let me finish wrap the thought. So I like the orcs. I like that fight. I like when Numenor just kind of rode in to, like right on time, and you know that whole battle. Like you started seeing all the characters come together. Like Arendor was there, Galadriel was there, Theo was there, and all those other guys. They were starting to come together in one scene. Like the stories were starting to merge. Adar runs off, and fucking Halbrand and Galadriel chase after him, and he trips the horse. And the horse gets up and is like, dick, and just walks off. You know, that was cool. And they have their moment and all of that. And then fucking Waldred, you know, of all people, like, he's up on the dam and he puts the sword in the fucking thing. And as soon as, like, the sluice opens and, like, the water starts shooting out, I was like, is he gonna flood the town while everyone's in there? Like, they can't escape from that. But then, like, it doesn't go to the town. And, like, it starts going into the tunnels. And I was like, oh, wait, those are those tunnels they were digging. I was like, what is the purpose of this? And then as soon as it showed it go into that mountain and it goes inside and like the water is like pouring, I was like, oh shit. Like I literally said out loud, oh shit. And then that shit hit and like it erupted and it looked fucking amazing. And like the smoke is billowing out and like all the little flaming rocks are landing everywhere. Like it was, to me, that was like the most epic moment in the show. Like I thought that it was well earned. I thought that they built up to that moment perfectly. I thought they laid all the groundwork to eventually get there, and I didn't understand it. You know, I never made the connected those dots until it happened. So to me, the revelation was you know, shocking. But I thought that was like, you know, the point of the first season. Like the point of the first season was, how does Mordor become Mordor? Like, what happened to make Mordor Mordor? And you get all these hints with Queen Muriel talking to her father, don't go, all you'll find is darkness, and that sort of stuff. When Elendil is on the, or is it Elendil? Isildur's dad?
Yeah.
When Elendil is on the boat, and he's like, you know, usually I'm used to the sun rising in the east, but this time it's rising to the west. It makes me feel like darkness is coming, you know? Like, there are all these clues to tell you what's happening. That I think paid off like in a really, really awesome way. And like, yeah, that was kind of the point. And that's why it ended with Halbrand walking towards Mount Doom. Like the whole point was how the Southlands, which, you know, looked beautiful beforehand, became Mordor, you know. And maybe that's not the Lord of the Rings story people wanted to hear. Clearly, I mean, there's so much more. There is, I get what you're getting at. There is so much more incredible lore around it that can be told in stories. And that's why there was an article that came out about Embracer Group, who bought the rights to Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And one of the sales pitches of it was like, you could make a giant like MCU type universe with Lord of the Rings, with all the stories that you could tell here and there.
Oh my god, yeah.
And you know,
no, dude, it's like it's wild the amount of shit that this guy wrote in this world. But so I have a couple of questions for Hans about things that I don't know about. First off, is the whole shit with the elves dying and they need mithril, that was completely cooked up.
That was
show,
fabricated
right?
for the show.
Okay, I hate that shit.
That was I think that was the worst part of the season.
The stupidest shit ever.
I think that was the worst part of the season.
Also, is there anything in the Silmarillion in the Second Age about the sword and it being a key that opens the water? Was that a MacGuffin also created for the show?
I think that was a MacGuffin.
The
Morgul sword?
Yeah, that just reeks of MacGuffin.
Yeah, I think that was a MacGuffin also created for the show. It's almost like the season was written to be a foundation and nothing more. I don't want that. Okay, well, at least there's one Lord of the Rings superfan that doesn't want a MCU multiverse of Lord of the Rings properties. But I mean, I get the sense that a lot of Lord of the Rings fans are kind of on that boat. Like, it's a precious franchise to those fans. Like, they don't like the commercialization, hyper commercialization of it.
I get that about it, but I guess that's my thing. You know, it just felt like they took a lot of elements. So now that you've seen, I don't want to ruin it for you, so never mind. I was going to suggest you watch. So the guy who does the Tolkien Untangled YouTube series, he does a thing about adapting the Second Age.
Oh, you could spoil whatever. I mean, I've had all this Tolkien shit told to me over the years, and just didn't pay much attention to it.
He does the thing about adapting the Second Age, and he's like, the thing about the Second Age is you could actually adapt it for a show quite well and not do any of this other crap. He's like, you could do 2 seasons about Sauron and the elves, and then 2 seasons about Sauron and the men, and then do 2 seasons about Sauron and the elves and men coming together at the end of the Second Age to fight him in the Battle of the Last Alliance. Because that would set up the elves and their thing with Sauron, the humans, because those things happen thousands of years apart, you know what I mean? Or not, not thousands of years apart, I guess, for the second season and the last seasons. But
yeah.
But my point is, the stuff with the elves and Sauron, and then the stuff with Numenor. And then, like, you could really tell the fall of Numenor as its own 2-season epic, because that's what it is. I mean, it's fucking wild.
And that's 2 things on that. Is one is what Hans just said. Remember, there's a lot Amazon isn't allowed to use. So a lot of what we saw on screen was a globbing together of disparate elements here and there. Like, they couldn't do a direct adaptation of the Silmarillion, but they could use parts from it and parts from footnotes from other books and some of his letters that Tolkien wrote describing things. So this was, like, for what they had access to, I think this was probably amongst the better stories that they could tell.
I guess. I just think maybe they shouldn't have made it if they couldn't get the Silmarillion.
Oh, God, no. I'd rather this exist than not.
Well, yeah, but if they could have got the Silmarillion, I mean, they spent so much money on it. Why not actually get the fucking shit and adapt the actual story? You know what I mean?
Because Tolkien estate didn't want to let them have it.
Well, what are they going to... Why not?
Ask the Tolkien estate.
How
There's a whole sea
of
Lord of the Rings.
All this other shit and not get the rights to the Silmarillion. Like, what is it about the Silmarillion?
I mean, it's obviously not money. This is the most expensive television show ever made.
And that's my point. It's like,
not the money.
What would they have to do if they're already working with them on?
They would have to implant like a chip in the brain of like Chris Tolkien or whoever controls that estate. It gets them to do it because like it's just a fact. Like, that estate is very precious about what they will allow to have happen and what they won't allow to have happen.
It would be kind of like if they were going to adapt the Game of Thrones. Like, we haven't seen the show, they're going to adapt the show. It's like, yeah, but you can't use Storm of Swords. You can use everything else, but not a Storm of Swords. It's like, well, what are we going to do for Storm of Swords? You guys can think of something, but it can't be Storm of Swords. It's like, yeah, but it makes so much fucking sense.
Yeah.
It goes with the story. It's like, yeah, but you got to roll your own jazz, man. You got fucking Jon Snow, there's dragons, there's White Walkers. Come up with something. Like, okay, and then like people.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I think they should have figured out what it was going to take.
I think we have a different appraisal of value on Rings of Power, in that I think that even with the restrictions, it's still a show worth having. Like, I'm glad that it exists.
Well,
I had a lot of fun watching it.
I will put a caveat on my statement. If it's truly impossible to get the Silmarillion, like they couldn't have waited a couple of years or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Sure, give us what we got. But if they could have squared the circle, waited a couple years, added a couple more $100 million, whatever it was going to take to get the Silmarillion, I think they should have done it. Like, I would have done that. You know what I mean? Because that's all the themes carried through. Everything is. I
mean, you would have a bitch of a time. Like, they wanted to strike while the ore was hot on the fantasy epic TV show, and this was right after Game of Thrones ended.
True.
There was a chasm. True. The Witcher came out, and it for all of its popularity, it definitely revealed its weaknesses. And there was
the show is better than The Witcher. I'll give it that.
Well, yeah, yeah. And then not Rings of Power, Wheel of Time. Amazon dropped Wheel of Time.
I didn't see that.
A lot of people didn't, but I thought it was a great show. Which is probably a reason why so much is different. The Tolkien estate is very picky on what they let people use. Yeah, J.R.R. Tolkien never would have wanted his work adapted, but times changed, so we got Lord of the Rings trilogy, and times will change again. Like, this isn't the be-all, end-all of Lord of the Rings adaptations for certain. Like, we're going to get some more shit in the future, especially now that Embracer Group owns it, or at least owns some part of it.
Of what? The Lord of the Rings?
They own the license to something. I don't know. The way that it works is weird.
I just don't understand what's so precious about the Silmarillion that, because it's like, it's only one book, and the Lord of the Rings is 3, and it's like, and he wrote a bunch of other stuff too. It just seems weird that it's like that one thing you can't use.
I think it's because the Silmarillion is so foundational to the lore of Lord of the Rings that it and it's weird to say this considering what they ended up doing with Rings of Power, but those an adaptation for that could be lore breaking. Like, they are very cautious about that sort of thing with respects to what they do and what they don't want to have allowed in a story.
It seems like there could have been something in between, though. Maybe they pay for the rights, but they can't call it the Silmarillion, but they can actually use story elements. Because here's my thing. There's a lot of people, and you know what? Maybe that's not true. Maybe this show is going to come and go, and people won't ever think that is actually the prequel to The Lord of the Rings. But the thing about the movies of The Lord of the Rings is you can watch those movies, and especially if you watch the extended edition, you know the story of The Lord of the Rings. It is essentially the story that Tolkien wrote.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is that story. But this is not the prequel to The Lord of the Rings. The Rings of Power are not that's not the prequel to The Lord of the Rings. That's something. It's got a lot of the similar elements. It's got some similar
I would
characters.
disagree. I think this is much more. What the fuck is going on here? What is this?
I don't know.
Software update not responding. I didn't want a software update to begin with. Get out of here.
It's Windows, dude.
I would say Camera Hub. Oh, Camera Hub wanted to update. Well, dude, I'm using the camera right now, so don't update. But
get bit. How's that sound?
Like, to me, this is much closer to a prequel to Lord of the Rings than like a lot of like the first age adaptations that you would get from the Silmarillion. I mean, this is like.
No, the Silmarillion though it completely chronicles the Second Age and all.
No,
the
yeah,
stuff
for
with
certain.
The Battle of the First Alliance or the Last Alliance and all that shit.
Yeah, and I think you're gonna get some of that in Rings of Power. You're gonna get it, but like this what they built here is they're trying to. They don't want to stray too far from the Tolkien or from the Peter Jackson trilogy era of Lord of the Rings. Like, they want to make sure that when this show, particularly this season, and we saw it at the end of the season, they want to make sure that when this season ends, there is a direct tie between what we're seeing here and what you could see on Amazon Prime if you go over to watch the Lord of the Rings extended versions. And that was the important part. I don't remember. I think it was the last episode when they were talking to Adar, and they're like, "What are we gonna call this land now?" And then it pans up and it says the Southlands, and it burns away. It says Mordor. That was specifically for taking the end of this season and hooking it directly to the era of Lord of the Rings that all the non-Silmarillion reading normies know and recognize. Remember, this is for normies, essentially.
and Hans has listed a bunch of things that the books left out, the Scouring of the or the movies left out, Scouring of the Shire and Glorfindel, and I don't know the Sour of the Many Colors. There's definitely details, but to my knowledge, they left out Tom Bombadil. I mean, there's stuff they left out, but it's not like the story.
And it's not like they can't still do that. Like, this is a 5-season thing, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that, like, I think to make the point to the Tolkien estate, when you're trying to adapt the story, it's like, you know, for a lot of people, this is going to be the story of the Second Age. You know what I mean? They're not going to read the Silmarillion. You know what I mean? They're going to think this is what happened before the Lord of the Rings. And it's not what Tolkien intended at all. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, wouldn't you prefer us to tell some semblance of the story that Tolkien actually wrote for all this shit, rather than just kind of like jazz it up on?
Oh, I bet, I mean? And that, again, I bet, and this is, I bet you they really wanted to do that. This is a question for the Tolkien estate, more than the show writers or anybody else.
That's my point. That's what I'm saying. Like if you're the Tolkien estate, you know, like what do you really for a good portion of the populace going forward for years and years, you know what I mean? This is the Second Age. This is what happens before Lord of the Rings.
People think that about the Lord of the Rings movies as well though. Yeah, no, for certain.
But my point is that the stories in the Lord of the Rings generally just omit certain key elements. Like, you know, it's like the Game of Thrones omitting Lady Stoneheart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the general arc of the characters, where they were going, the things they do, are from the books. You know what I mean? It's not like, you know, except they go off book towards those later seasons where they just kind of start getting jazzy with it too. Like when they go to are you
talking about Game of Thrones?
Oh yeah, go to Dorne, right? So all that
Dorne was super different than the books. That's the funny thing about like
GOT jazz, dude. It's just like
that's the funny thing about like this whole conversation, because like we were kind of on opposite ends of this with Game of Thrones, where I would reference things about what happens in the books and whatnot, and you would be like, "Oh, well, it's the show; it's doing its own thing. I'm still having fun with the show." Blah 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 blah. And like you can't really, and I totally agree with the sentiment that like the show's its own thing, the book's its own thing. You could make comparisons for certain, but like to use one as a springboard to lynch the other is, I think, I think it's somewhat.
Here's the thing. I think that our comments about that, you know, they were made in the time they were made, and now we're looking back at the show through the context of as far as most people are concerned, the wheels coming off in the last season, and to the point where they weren't even sure if people were going to watch, you know, the House of the Dragon. It turns out they, you know, about that. But I mean, the thing is that, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, they've done it. It's done. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, but if I'm just talking about, you know, I would have really liked to have seen them adapt the story the way it's written in the Silmarillion and not just kind of, or just something kind of close, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I obviously, like, this franchise wouldn't exist without a lot of that incredible writing. It would be great if they could adapt some of that stuff, and you know, we might be that we do get that at some point in the future. For what we did get though, like, if I had to give this season a number rating, I would give it an 8 out of 10. Like, I didn't think it was by any stretch of the imagination perfect, and you know, as an adaptation, I guess for me, I'm not so much looking at the adaptation of this because I wasn't steeped in the lore before I watched this. And
yeah, I mean, it wouldn't have changed my opinions about some of the general listlessness of probably the middle 5 episodes. You know
there are like technical issues that, you know, remain consistent regardless of what story you're adapting.
And the thing is certain things that happened in those episodes that were extremely listless, like the whole bullshit about the elves dying and the mithril being like that's gonna save us. That becomes particularly galling when you know that, or when you have a good inkling that's not the actual story. Yeah. You're like, why are we doing this? What are we fucking doing here, guys? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I tried to like justify its existence, I guess, as far as why they felt they needed that for television. And the only thing that I could come to the only conclusion I could draw from that was that they needed to give a little bit more juice and drama to the dwarves, giving them a reason for mining deep down to the mountains and freeing the Balrog. Like, to them, that was an opportunity. Like, okay, we could just have it to be where the dwarves are just mining and being happy dwarves and they accidentally free the Balrog. Or we could inject some level of drama. There's something that they need, where that Balrog is. What is it that they need? And for whatever reason, they decided to choose the extinction of the elves.
But I have a question, though, and maybe Hans can answer this. So, is that Balrog anything other than an Easter egg? Because he doesn't attack the dwarves in for a while, really long time. Isn't one of the dwarves that's in The Hobbit, isn't he one of the dwarven skeletons, like the guy who was writing it down in Lord of the Rings? So theoretically that Balrog would have done his stuff after The Hobbit. So like 2,000 years later. Like, was there any point in that Durin's Bane, just other than to show the Balrog? Like, because to me, it seems like that was just a pointless thing that they were like, and there's a Balrog. Hey guys, remember this guy? He's in Lord of the Rings. He's awesome, right?
Obviously they're hinting at some greater things to come with that Balrog.
Yeah, well, he doesn't do anything. He doesn't leave. He's not in the Second Age at all.
I don't think. Well, okay, I think that
maybe Hans can answer that. Is that Balrog in the Second Age at all?
I'm just talking about from the point of view of the show, like.
Okay, so you're thinking they're gonna maybe he leaves and plays
I think at some point in the second season that Balrog will play a bigger role. Oh, they were just hinting at
that would suck.
Why?
Because he does.
You're basing this way too much on what you know of the timeline. The timelines are irrelevant. Do away with the timelines.
But there's no Balrogs.
Do away with the timeline.
In the Battle of the Second
Dude,
Alliance.
they did so much. This show already did some extreme timeline compression.
They're called Balrogs of Morgoth.
I know they're the Balrogs of Morgoth. Like I get that. I know. Like. You just got to do away with it, man.
You're just gonna come out and start a band.
You just got to let go. You got to
start a rock band and go around.
You're hung up on some clown from the 50s,
from the
60s.
Nice, that was an excellent Seinfeld reference. Bozo?
Yeah.
You talking about Bozo? Dude, you're hung up on some clown from the 60s. Yeah, he needs to stay in the mines. I'm with you, dude.
The Balrog needs to stay in the mines. Oh, but they wouldn't have. It's kind of like, what is it, Chekhov's gun?
It's Chekhov's
they
gun.
Wouldn't have shown him if they weren't planning on whipping him out at some point, And I'm at least glad that they didn't do it in season 1. There was too much going on as it is. But they're definitely planning on whipping that Balrog out sometime soon.
But Hans, am I mistaken in the mines of Moria at the time of The Hobbit or after the time of The Hobbit? They're not abandoned yet. They haven't. He hasn't done his. The Balrog hasn't run amok in the mines of Moria, and because isn't one of the dwarves in their party in The Hobbit? Isn't he one of the dwarven skeletons they find dead in the room that they hole up in against the troll?
You were talking about latency before.
Yeah.
Here it is, live and in action. Yeah, Balin.
Yeah. So theoretically, he doesn't do any. I mean, in the stories that they do have the rights to, The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, he theoretically wouldn't do anything until, after The Hobbit.
I'm not sure what the timeline is with all that, to be honest. I'm not sure either. I can't.
It's not going to stop him. I mean, obviously, they showed him.
They showed him, so they're gonna use him.
He'll be cooking breakfast before.
Yeah,
he'll have his own his own show.
It's an interesting thing because they wanted to bring Peter Jackson onto this show as a producer or advisor in some capacity, and Peter Jackson was willing, but they just ghosted him. And they did their own thing. And I wonder if a part of that is because they realized that they wanted to do stuff with timelines that would break continuity with Peter Jackson's trilogy.
They're like, you're not gonna like this.
Yeah, and so that they just cut them from it so that it would allow them to basically be able to do more experimentations with timeline stuff without people being like, but that doesn't line up with the Jackson.
It's Tolkien jazz, dude. And that's how I'm gonna roll with the show going forward.
Yeah.
I'm just like, dude, you guys you shine on, you crazy diamonds. Let's get that Balrog out there. Let's bring Smaug in.
Let's get that Balrog out there.
Smaug is somewhere. He's alive probably. Let's get him in there. Maybe the Balrog and Smaug start just wrecking shop, and then like Elendil finds a machine gun and he goes up. And
I mean, it's not that crazy, dude. it's not that crazy.
Slow down, dude.
I mean, a Balrog does exist in this world at some point in every iteration of a Tolkien story. So, I don't know what they're gonna do with it. Maybe the Balrog doesn't come.
There's actually a lot of debate on how many Balrogs there actually were.
I only thought there was one.
No, there was actually 7 or possibly 30.
I mean, by the time that we get to Lord of the Rings, I only thought there was one.
Just one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
Hold on.
7.
As critical as I am about certain things, I really do enjoy the show a lot for what it is. I absolutely love seeing Sauron in mortal form. 7 or possibly over.
Yeah. No,
between 7 and 1,000.
He changes his mind. Tolkien changes his mind over the years. And like at one point he says there were like tons of them, and then another point he says, nah, there were only 7.
That's a big range. 7 to 1,000. Like,
so there was actually a boss Balrog named Gothmog.
Yeah.
And he was.
I think they repurposed him in the show for the origin of Mithril, right? They had that sequence where the elf was fighting the Balrog on the tree.
Oh.
I think that was Gothmog. I can't remember.
Yeah, they did. It was weird too, because that's another thing. I don't want to bang on the show too much, but like in that retelling,
you've been exclusively bagging on it, man. Like, what did you like about this show?
So I thought visually it was cool. You know what I mean? And it's just like it's guys with swords and shit, and it doesn't look like Hercules: The Legendary Journeys, and just I can enjoy that aspect of it. I mean, I watched it. So it's just like they just say a random elf warrior, and he's fighting a fucking Balrog. And they say he was fighting for one of the Silmarils. It's like they like, well, who was it? Because, I mean, isn't Celebrimbor, the guy who's telling the story, isn't his fucking granddad Fëanor? You know what I mean? Who's Finway's son? I mean, Finway is like one of the first elves that ever lived, and it's like, it just seemed kind of detached.
Some of Tolkien's work contradicts itself, but those contradictions can also be explained. It's crazy. Ecthelion killed Gothmog the Balrog. Okay, I don't know what any of those fucking words mean.
Is that in the 5th battle for Beleriand?
You see, I mean, just this right here is why so much of that shit is unfilmable, man. Like, it's just Valyrian and Gothmelio and Silaraxis at the Battle of Kalanthor in the Age of Dillasistes. It's like, what the fuck are you fucking talking about? Like, this is why when my friend, for all of those years, was talking to me about Lord of the Rings, this and that, all that lore that she has access to in her brain that she was just spilling out at me, it just fell right in and out of my ears. Like, once you start getting into, like, the name dropping of all this shit, like, I am just lost. I am just completely and totally lost.
The thing that's crazy about it is
there is so much lore.
The elves in Lord of the Rings live forever. They don't. Yeah. They're not like elves in D&D where they live for like 2,000 years and then they eventually die. But they're immortal. So it's like there are several elves that live like they live like the entire world. Like
from the inception to the age
like
of
the
man.
shipwright. You know what I mean? What's his name? He's been there a long time.
Elves born in Valinor under the light of the trees are unnaturally powerful.
When they show up in Middle Earth, dude, they fucking wreck orcs.
We'll probably get that at some point.
No, that's in the first
stage. That's the first stage? Oh, okay, that's the first. Oh, that was that first stage. Oh, yeah.
When Fëanor shows up with all the elves from Valinor, dude, they just start wrecking shop. And then Fëanor gets a little overzealous.
Yeah, I mean, I like this show. I thought it was good. I enjoyed watching it a lot. I was watching it, like, you two, Hans, you and Justin, you watched Rings of Power in isolation, but I watched it side by side with House of the Dragon. So I had a really interesting like back and forth between which show I liked more, and a really interesting style contrast as far as like both visually and narratively. Like it was I would like to hear both of your thoughts on House of the Dragons when you get around to watching it. Well, Galadriel is one of those elves. She learned from all of the Valar too. She's a Mary Sue. Just say it. She's a Mary Sue. The fuck are they doing in there? Anyways, so I mean that's my vibe on Ring of Power.
If I had to give it a rating, I would probably, out of 10, I would say it's a 6 or a 7 for me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I enjoyed the show. I only myself to blame by learning the story.
By diving into the lore.
and just thinking, like, I guess the thing was that, like, I didn't know that they couldn't, you know, like, I was expecting to see some of that stuff. And I'm just like, what's going on? And I was like, what's happening?
I will admit, before, and I think I did a stream with you, Hans, and Raya and others before the show aired, where we were talking about what we might see. And I thought that we were going to see, I thought that the first age was going to be like the first episode or two. Like, I didn't think it was going to be like the whole season. But I thought we were going to get like one episode or maybe 2 episodes that took place in the first stage before a time jump. Yeah. Like, I didn't think that it would be like a 30-second montage.
Yeah.
You know, so there is that. There is that at least.
And so, we'll see where it goes. And maybe it'll be great. I mean, they could theoretically, you know, in season 2, they could go full Fall of Numenor, and like, because they showed it in the Palantir scene. It would be weird. It would be weird the way that they would have to do it, but they would it's true. But to do it, they would have to. They got to bring a lot of ships. That's the thing. When they were really coming over with 3 ships from Numenor, I was like, isn't this supposed to be like 500 or 1,000 ships? Like as far as the eye can see, and it's like 3 ships. But maybe that's still to come.
Well, I mean, the Queen, they had that scene where the Queen was sitting on the mountain and Galadriel visitors, and she reaffirms her resolve. So, and that's when, you know, Elendil was like, what the fuck? You know, like, it's obvious that we're not done in this show. We're not done with Numenor's involvement in Middle Earth. So I don't think it's going to be second season. It could be, but I don't think it's going to be second season that we're going to see, like, you know, however many hundreds of ships in Middle Earth. I don't know where they're going to take it in the second season. Obviously, I think a big part of it is going to be following Nori and the wizard, whichever wizard that may be. Come on. I don't think it's the blue wizards.
Nori and Radagast.
Yeah, Nori and Radagast. I like Radagast. I don't think it's gonna be the blue wizards. I know we were speculating on that a while ago, Hans, but I don't think it's the blue wizard. But I think they're gonna be a big part of season 2.
Yeah, I'm with you, Hans. Isildur would have to they'd have to do some major time jumps.
I think that's what we should be in line for. I think they're gonna be some big. I think the next season is gonna be a big time jump. Obviously, Isildur is not dead, you know.
Well, no,
so there's.
I don't even know why they even went there. We've all seen Isildur.
Yeah.
So we know
it's a weird head fake to try to pull off, but like I think a big part of 2 is gonna be what he's been up to, you know, and how he positions himself.
So this is what they could do in season 2. They get back. There's some machinations with between the Queen and Pharazôn, and Pharazôn assumes the throne. You know what I mean? Because Pharazôn is actually he's the king. He's not really supposed to be.
Yeah.
But he becomes king, and then they all invade Middle Earth with a huge amount of Numenorians. You know what I mean? They get over there, they fight Sauron, but then Sauron surrenders and they take him back to Numenor, and then literally. Them going back to Numenor, that would where the season end, and then the next season would pick up in like a couple of years, with Sauron essentially having been imprisoned in Numenor, because that's the way they could make it work, like it works sort of in the books. But the thing is that was and maybe that's what they're gonna do with it. That would be interesting to see that go that way. They could still do that stuff.
Yeah,
and they got some weird shit going on with the whole Mithril and the Rings of Power they've created now.
I think we're past like, I don't know why. I feel like it was just television writing to add a little juice for the mines, for the dwarves mining. I don't know why they felt they needed to go that route with Mithril and the vulnerability of the elves or whatever. I think that story arc is behind us now. Like, I don't think we don't have to worry about that anymore. We got to the critical moment in that, which is the forging of those rings. So now that we have those rings for the 3 elf kings, they could take that story basically anywhere they want to take it. We got out of the last episode without seeing Durin, right? There was no Durin scene in that last episode. I don't think so.
I don't think so. Can't remember.
Yeah, I don't think that there was a Durin scene in that last episode.
That's the thing, though. I don't know how, like, the show's
so if
called
there's a big time jump, then Durin's probably gonna be either ancient or dead.
Well, the thing is it wouldn't be a big time jump. It would be to be like 3 or 4 years, because they actually say that Sauron is imprisoned in Numenor for like 3 years, and he's got to be doing his stuff.
No. I mean a time jump from season 1 to season 2. Like
no. They can't do a huge time jump because they're going back to get the ships to come back to in Middle Earth, and they can't. It's not gonna be a huge time jump.
It could be. Numenorians live a long time.
It's true.
It could be as big a time jump as they need, because all the principal characters aren't humans.
Live longer than humans too, though. You know
Who?
What I mean? Dwarves live longer than humans too, though.
Yeah, but not as long as elves. And
no.
there are
elves don't die,
yeah,
so,
there are no humans that need to stick around for all of this. I guess maybe the woman that the black elf is in love with, she's the only human that of consequence. But
I just can't see them. Like, the thing is they don't need a big time jump right now. Where they need the time jump to make the story work, or to make it the way it would be really cool. They need that between
2 and 3.
2 and 3.
If they did season 3 the way that
Sauron has to be in Numenor in prison for a while, because he starts working his shit, and Sauron fucks Numenor up bad. He gets those guys way lost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he has to be over there. The problem with him being over there is so when does he forge the other rings of power? Because he's still got to forge 9 now. Maybe he could, forge those and give those to Numenorians somehow after he becomes like the hand of the wizard hand of the king to Pharazôn or whatever. Because the thing is they say the Nazgûl are actually like high lords of Numenor, so that could actually work.
Yeah.
He could. Well, he's that guy. He could make those rings and give those to the various Numenorians, and I don't know, or maybe after the fall of Numenor, the Numenorians that but no, it's only the faithful that come over. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work. But then the ones with the dwarves, I don't know where that comes in. So who knows? I mean, honestly, they may not be able to kind of spend the time to do that. They might want to focus on just the rings, and But essentially, Numenor's got to fall. I'm just not sure how they're going to do it. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, they've got several years to figure it out. Like, it's 2 years. We're going to be waiting for 2 years for the next season, and they're planning 5 seasons of this. We're going to be old by the time this show runs its course.
We're already old.
Well, older. Significantly older.
That's actually one of the things about Numenor that's actually pretty cool. The actual story of Numenor is that Numenor as a story is actually about humans' fear of death.
Yeah.
And wish to be
And they play on that in this season.
And their wish to be deathless. You know what I mean? And that's essentially the whole arc of what all that's about. And that's what Sauron seizes upon. And it's actually, and it leads to fucking just ridiculous shit. I mean, and I would love to see them do that, because it's fucking so epic what actually happens, and it's not like, and all the guys that it happens to are alive right now, you know what I mean? And Pharazôn, he's alive right now. He's the his mind gets heavily warped by Sauron. And I'm not sure we're going to see any of that. Well, maybe we'll
be a big part of the show. Like, they spent multiple scenes ruminating over it. They show a visual representation of what a moment of it could look like when they showed the waters crashing into the city. I think that is a part of what they're...
Sauron actually has to be in Numenor when it happens. I mean...
Sure, he could be anywhere. He's Sauron. He could
also, that was actually one thing I thought was kind of weird. Sauron was walking. He was walking back to to Mordor. I was like, does he actually need to walk? I mean, at this point, I mean, I just wondered. I wonder. I mean, that's a nitpick.
Yeah, I guess he could. I mean,
it's like maybe Hans would know this. It seems like he could just kind of fly, or because this is before he loses the ability to shapeshift.
I think it'd be like Superman type fly.
Well, he could change into anything he wants. When he's being attacked by Luthien's dog, he changes into a serpent and a werewolf and a vampire bat and flies away.
I think it's just it's one of those situations where it's like, and he doesn't need to look like Halbrand anymore, but we recognize him as Halbrand.
I think it'd be cool if he didn't, personally. And I agree with Hans. I think it was great to see him as a person, as a human. Because he's supposedly he's in corporeal form in Lord of the Rings too. We just in Peter Jackson's movies, they just chose to we see him at the end in kind of a corporeal form, sort of in his armor.
Yeah.
But they actually show him there's an outtake, and I don't know if it actually made it in the movie or not, but you can see it on YouTube.
I did see it actually, yeah.
It's an outtake of him, and he looks like an elf and all, because the thing was originally his name wasn't Sauron, it was Meron, I think, or Meron. Is that right, Hans? He was under.
I mean, he got back to Mordor pretty quickly. Yeah, he could have flown there and then walked the rest of the way. They replaced that with the troll.
Yeah, they covered him up. But I actually thought it was cool that you saw him like that. That you saw that he was that he was.
A dude.
Yeah, a dude, but also that he wasn't monstrous looking. Because everything about Mordor and Sauron's, the mouth of Sauron, it's all fucked
it's all
up,
about, and it's like a ghoul. He's got the eye in the tower, but then you see him and he's actually not just an elf, but a beautiful elf. He's a beautiful elf.
Because he could appear as anything he wanted to. You know what I mean?
That's
before the fall of Numenor. Anyway,
that's Berserk. Definitely aped off of that one with Griffith. But I mean, there's so much lore that is birthed from Lord of the Rings. He has flesh. Yes, he does. And I kind of wish that. I'm with you. I wish they had shown it. I always thought that the Peter Jackson depiction of Sauron was kind of lame. It was like Sauron if they didn't have the rights to show Sauron. It's like, what is this? Like, why?
He says that in the books, Tolkien really never describes him in the Lord of the Rings books. I think he gets described in the Silmarillion.
Okay.
But yeah, supposedly, what's crazy is that he's not even...
Simmerlab, greeting from Russia, boys. What's up?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, welcome to the stream. How you doing over there? It seems every time I see Russia, it's like, he's probably freezing to death. But who knows? Who knows anymore? But it is. What were you saying?
Yeah, he was in Lord of the Rings. I think he did have a physical form, but he was in a really weakened state. But I think his name was Mauron or something like that. In the first long ago. But he actually wasn't one of Melkor's he wasn't under Melkor originally. He was actually under Alway, who was the smith. And that's the thing about Sauron. His thing is order. And and he eventually becomes Melkor's lieutenant, his right hand man. But
Justin, you went real deep in the lore rabbit hole, didn't you? Dude. So, you fell deep into this shit.
That's how good the first episode was. I was like, I want to learn more about this. And
holy shit!
Soon, but
you sound like Stephen Colbert. You could talk to Stephen Colbert about this.
And I rewatched one of those episodes. They ask him questions, and he's like, "You come to my house." I knew the answer to that question. I was like, "Holy shit! I know the answer to that." So the funny thing is that you want to know another Maya who was under Alway? Saruman.
I do. Now that was one of the things I did read actually when I just dipped my toe in the lore rabbit hole. And I did read about Saruman and his own corrupt his version of orcs that he made and all that sort of shit.
But it's weird too. They were both ended up, evil Maya or whatever, and they were both under Alway originally.
Russia is very big, from -55C to +45C. I have to convert that in my American brain can't comprehend C.
I know that -55 is cold as fuck.
That sounds unlivable to me.
That's ass cold.
I think you're right about that name. Morgoth wanted to destroy everything the Valar created, and Sauron wanted to rule Middle Earth. Control, damn, you really did deep dive into it.
Dude,
yeah,
I'm
dude,
telling
you
man,
went hard.
That Tolkien Untangled guy is, there is a barrier for entry because he's so like, something Melamine, my friends, welcome to Lord, and it's all like, he's got like an animation of himself and he looks like.
So he comes off immediately as a LARPer.
Yes. I mean,
okay.
And he's British and stuff, and he's his kind of fae, his like vibe, but dude, the guy knows his fucking like Lord of the Rings, and his channel is immensely entertaining.
Okay.
Like, he does the first stage starting from the very beginning, and it is excellent. Like I was literally like just mainlining that shit one after another. And like I've been watching the Fall of Beleriand, and I'm trying to get to the end because I want to know like what actually happens. Eventually the Valar show up, and Beleriand gets ruined.
Yeah.
But like I'm at the 5th battle of Beleriand right now. You know what I mean? But this guy, I mean, dude, this guy, Stephen Colbert, and it would be tough to deal with this dude because this guy knows his shit.
Fair enough.
Like, I just watched a video about whether Gil-galad has black hair or blonde hair, because he kind of has both on some level, but towards the end of his life, Tolkien decided that he was actually a grandson of Finarfin instead of Fingolfin, and it changes things a bit.
Tolkien was very fickle with his lore, it sounds. In -55, even the snot in the nose freezes.
Oh my God,
Jesus,
dude.
man.
That's like being on the moon.
Why are people living there? God, I can't deal with like fucking. Ooh, it's a little chilly out. Like I gotta get a jacket. Like I'm gotta start the fireplace.
It's funny, like as I've gotten older, my resistance to cold has gone down. Like I get, like, I come out like fucking cold. Give me a, I feel like an old, like like you read like a Dickensian story. And it's like his old bones ached in the cold. He had one cold. He was like.
And like I'll say, and I mentioned this I think on Twitter a bit, and I talked to you about it. I was reached out to by a company in Boston. They wanted to recruit me to work on a title they're working on for CD Projekt Red, and obviously, so many things in my life lead to like this moment of me working on a Witcher title, right? But like Boston. I don't think I could deal with that cold, man. Like, on top of like a ton of logistical reasons for,
Tim lives in Boston,
and he's been giving me the hard sell. Like he's been sending me pictures, and all this stuff.
I want someone to hang out with bad.
Yeah, I feel for him. I would enjoy hanging out with Tim again. Like I always like hanging out with him, but I can't do it. I'm Southern born, American Southern born, Islander raised. I need the heat. I can't do cold. The movies didn't show very well that Saruman was trying to use Sauron to get the ring for himself, but Sauron saw right through him and was actually using Saruman. Actually habitual. They also eat ice cream on the street. That's psychopathic. That is a level of I can't even go anywhere near ice cream when it's like 40 degrees out. So the idea that you would be in some frigid environment eating ice cream is
hardcore.
That's too much. That's a whole different type
Although
of.
It does get really hot in Texas. Like we can do that.
And I hear that from people that visit from cold climates. They're like, "How could you live in this heat?" And I'm like,
"It's 113 outside with like Texas humidity." You're like. It's miserable.
I was like, it's a
miserable.
Hot one.
I kind of want to die, but it's just I call it June. You know what I mean?
But that's the thing. Like, you could jump in a stream or something, go to the pool. Like, what could you do when you're snowed in and it's like negative 50?
If you got a heater, I would say it's cheaper. Maybe I don't know. Actually, I was gonna say it's cheaper to get warm when you're cold than it is to get cold when you're hot. Because you can always put blankets on and shit, and blankets are free.
Yeah, that's true.
Coats are generally not free, but
that's
air
true.
Conditioning is expensive.
Air conditioning is very expensive, very impactful on the environment too.
Kill someone.
Jesus Christ!
You can shoot an apple, shoot a frozen apple out of a potato gun, dude. It's like. boom.
It's a very specific example of a thing that could kill someone. I hope you don't know this from personal experience. Anything over 70 degrees is too hot for me. Well, don't come to Texas, man. Like, this is America's Mordor. Yeah. For a number of different reasons.
Yeah, there's also
not
orcs.
just limited to the
We
heat.
have our own orcs.
All right, I think we're done with Rings of Power. It's pretty late. I don't know if you need to.
I actually gotta wake up super early.
Well,
Gotta drive Juniper to school. Anything else we need to hit before?
Well, we can just do some quick hits and some stories I have open here. Like, for example, jury finds Kevin Spacey not liable at Anthony Rapp's civil misconduct trial.
Okay.
So this guy might be coming back. We'll see.
I mean, I think he did some other stuff, maybe, or I don't know. Maybe he'll come back. Maybe they'll all come back eventually, except for Harvey Weinstein.
He's not coming back.
He needs to stay gone.
He's not coming back. To some degree, some of the people who were, this case is kind of what kickstarted the Me Too movement, a part of it at least. But a lot of people who were canceled in that movement have come back to varying degrees. Louis C.K. is touring and selling out theaters and whatnot.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't see Louis as back until he can do something. You know what I mean? And it gets written about without them like saying in the same article, Louis was accused by several women of acting inappropriately. You know
I've seen like when he won that Grammy, there were articles that didn't mention it.
I didn't see any of those articles.
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually been crazy. I've seen articles that are completely about something else involving Louis C.K. and then they throw that in at some point. It's like, guys, to me, he'll truly be back when his show's streaming back on Netflix. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
But it's on his way. He's finally doing podcasts. Did you watch any of his podcasts?
I didn't know he was doing that.
Oh yeah, he was on a bunch of them. He was on Your Mom's House. You ever watch Your Mom's House?
No. I thought you were just insulting me.
No. It's Your Mom's House with Tom Segura and his wife.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I do like Tom Segura.
Yeah, it was really interesting. He actually starts crying on that episode.
Oh shit.
But it's not like he's crying because he sees something that they thought was funny, and then he like characterizes it in that Louis way.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's so sad. It almost makes you want to start crying. And then like he actually kind of almost does. You know what I mean? And it's
that's wild.
It's a good episode.
Is Louis okay in your eyes? Is he uncanceled for you?
Oh, he was always uncanceled for me.
Okay, fair enough. Let's see.
When he wrote his article and said that he did it and talked about it, that was enough for me personally.
Count up, kill someone with a carrot. What's going on with you and like killing people with produce?
Actually, you could straight kill someone with a carrot.
I guess you could.
Was really
if
cold.
It was frozen. Yeah, you could definitely get somebody with a carrot, I guess. I don't know what the produce bin's all about, but
if you stabbed him like in the mouth, you know what I mean? And then when it thawed, they'd think that he just like died choking on a carrot. You know what I mean? They wouldn't know. It'd kind of be like shooting somebody with like a bullet made of ice.
Yeah. I think that was actually, I can't remember what it was. There was some show or movie or whatever where it was all about like maybe it was an anime or something. It was like a serial killer that killed people with an ice knife. So like the only thing that was there on the scene was like a puddle of water or something.
Or if it was a hardwood floor, it was bowed.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. This was a great fun stream. Thank you, Hans. I appreciate that. The cause of death was 73 blows to the chest with a carrot. Well, again, I like Justin. Like, if you do it to the chest, you're asking to get caught. But, in the mouth, it's a little bit nebulous. It's like maybe he was just really enthusiastic about eating a carrot.
He was just really hungry
and it caught him.
He zigged when he should have zagged.
Let's see, 70 in Celsius or Fahrenheit? Fahrenheit for certain. I'm cold and I'm angry. That's the thing. That's the thing about Russia that really scares me is like you get an area of mass that's that big and so much of it is that fucking cold. And I mean, if you study like any part of Russian history for a while, I was had an infatuation with it. Bleak history in Russia, bleak media, Russian plays and their novelization, their novels and stuff. Like, there's a lot of bleak. And I always wonder, like, is it just because it's so fucking cold in so many parts of it? Like, does the cold factor into it? Then I thought about, like, Alaska. Like, yeah, Alaska's bleak too.
Yeah, Russian composers aren't bleak. You know what I mean? Tchaikovsky's not bleak.
I guess. Yeah, there's some, but it's still kind of bleak. Still kind of bleak. Like there is a bleakness, I think, that, and like Norway, the home of death metal.
Norway is
pretty bleak.
It's bleak.
It's pretty bleak.
I mean, it's weird though because actually the happiness index is really high in Norway.
But that's because they have all those social programs. Like that's the thing. There's a direct correlation between how cold a place is, how bleak a place is, and how desperate a government is to like keep those people happy. Like even in Alaska, they have that oil dividend that they pay out to all their citizens. So it's like it's a Republican state. Like they should be anti-socialism, but it's the most socialist state we've got. Because it's bleak, and they got to keep those motherfuckers happy up there. When you're down in the sun and you got beaches and shit, they're like, "Fuck you! This is libertarian paradise. Do whatever you want. There's no social safety nets for anybody around here. You just go die at the beach with your 7 boyfriends or whatever.
Whoa.
I don't know. I'm just thinking of something hedonistic. You have a hedonistic lifestyle in the warmer weather.
Russians are very kind and cheerful. They just don't smile for no reason.
Well, I get that. Actually,
Americans definitely smile for no reason.
I work at a company that has it was founded by a dude from Russia who moved over to America a while ago, and we still have Russian people working there. One of the dudes I work with, hilarious guy. He's very like monotone and dry and like heavy Russian accent, but hilarious dude. Like every time he says, like he only says things that are funny, but he says it with like this affect, like it's super serious, and like it's just a hilarious thing, like a dichotomy. Like, and I'm obviously typical American. I'm much more boisterous, and I do smile for no reason. I like smiling for no reason from time to time.
Well, I think like
fair activity.
I think that's probably like, there's a lot more in America in the sense like premium of like smile, get out there and smile, have a good attitude, be positive. Get out there,
definitely.
Get out there and smile.
You gotta be a go-getter. Maybe that's the difference between being raised in a like. The capitalist mindset where it's like, oh, you got to be out there and be a go-getter, make sure you shake their hands, look them in the eye, give them a smile, you got to make people, you're constantly being a salesman of yourself.
Of course.
You got to sell yourself. You
get on
out
social
there,
media, talk about what things you're working on.
Exactly, don't ever let them know that you're down. You got to keep that, you can be down in private, but when you're out there, you're the public face.
We actually have that Facetune app. It actually put a smile on your face. Even if you can't physically do it. You're so depressed you can't physically smile. We got an app for that.
Have you seen that movie Smile?
I haven't seen it yet.
I do want to see it. I haven't seen it.
It looks like it could be scary.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, we got to figure out what our Halloween episode's going to be this year.
Oh, yeah, we finally got to get to Season of the Witch.
Oh, you've been asking for that.
Season of the Witch
that is
for like the last 10 years.
That is your what is that SNL skit with where the Fleetwood Mac drummer would.
We got a spammer in the channel.
It's
they're
YouTube
hard.
YouTube spammer. What was that SNL skit with the Fleetwood Mac drummer?
I don't remember that.
It was Keenan.
Mick Fleetwood.
Keenan would have that show, What Up With That?
Okay, that is gold.
Yeah, and like he would always have the drummer for Fleetwood Mac as like the third.
Not the drummer. He's Lindsey Buckingham.
Lindsey Buckingham, the singer. Okay,
yes.
And he would always have Lindsey Buckingham, and they would never be able to get because he'd always get up and dance in the middle of the skit, and like by the time he got sat down, he'd be like, "All right, well the show's over. Sorry, Lindsey, we couldn't get to you this time." It's like every skit, it was that like. Halloween 3 Season of the Witch is your Lindsey Buckingham.
It is.
I don't know if we're ever going to do it, but there is that new Halloween movie that's out, Halloween Ends.
Yeah.
I've had people tell me that I should watch it.
Oh, really?
They say that knowing that I like ridiculous movies, so I think that's a clue.
You got to watch all of them, though. It's a trilogy.
I watched the first one. I haven't seen Halloween Kills, though, so I would have to watch those other ones. But we could pick something else. Maybe it will be Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
Halloween Season of the Witch is just bonkers.
We didn't do one last year together. I did one just impromptu. I talked about Child's Play, which turned out to be a really funny visit, revisiting that movie. But I would be down to do Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. It is a wild movie.
The movie's got everything, dude.
It does have absolutely
it's got
everything.
Lasers, robots, murder, Satanism. I mean, it really has it all.
Yeah. Oh, nice to hear about socialism, not communism. Yep, in USSR, been a socialism. We have a saying: laughter or smile for no reason is a sign of a fool. That's kind of a bleak saying, I think, but I get it. I understand it. But you know, it's I don't think it's a sign of a fool. I think it's maybe. I guess it depends on the circumstances, right? Like, you know, wouldn't be smiling at a mass shooting, but you know, whatever. Well, there's a number of different ways you can interpret that saying, I suppose. But yeah, we could do Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. You know what? Let's do Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
All right.
When is Halloween's on a Monday?
I don't know, dude. Problem is between now and Halloween is going to be absolutely bonkers for me. So we're going to have to figure it out. Maybe, but probably next week. We'll have to do it next week, during the week.
Okay. Well, I'm down with that. You're down with that.
Word.
We'll figure out some time and we'll talk about Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. All right, Justin, I think you're going to bolt now.
Yep.
I'm going to be back in a second. I'm going to take a little break. I'll see you out and then take a bathroom break and get a drink. Nice. I think when I get back, what should I do? Should I do Cyberpunk? Should I do...
Are you playing Oblivion still?
Daggerfall? I could get back into Oblivion, actually. Maybe I will do that. Maybe I can't even remember where I left off. Oh, I just got a house. I just got my tower in Oblivion.
Oh, that's cool.
So I guess I could jump back into Oblivion. I'm a werewolf in Daggerfall, though.
Oh yeah, I heard you. I saw that on your stream.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm gonna play Cyberpunk at some point. I just gotta get a PlayStation 5, I guess.
You have like a killer beast of a computer. You can just play it there.
Computers are for work. They're not for toy. They're not toys.
Fair enough.
I can't do it. I gotta have the controller.
Well, that's why I use the controller.
Yeah, I gotta be in my living room on my TV.
Yeah, okay,
it's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. I get it. I get it.
Like, if I was gonna play I'd be in my studio where I do my work and it feel like I was working, and it's like, it's
fair enough. I understand that. All right.
Silent Hill 2 being remade, dude.
Oh yeah.
Actually, there's this new Silent Hill coming out too. I actually didn't watch the pre-trailer for that, but I did see the one for Silent Hill 2.
Yeah, I only saw a brief little thing about Silent Hill 2 remake. So
Silent
this
Hill
is
Transmission, dude.
This is well, let's watch this real quick then, I guess. This is news to me, kind of.
It's like, I'm in such higher res than before.
Yeah. You loved the first Silent Hill, right?
No,
or did you love Silent Hill 2? Okay, you love Silent Hill 2.
Dude. The first one's cool, it's great, but the second one is just...
Whoa. That looks really cool.
Something so awful.
Oh, that's right. They announced multiple Silent Hills, right?
Yeah.
I need to go. See ya. Hey, thank you for stopping by, man. I appreciate you jumping in the stream. I appreciate you giving me a follow. I really appreciate that. See you next time. Stay warm.
Later, dude.
Silent Hill F.
What the fuck is going on? What are all these things?
They announced a number of different Silent Hill games. Silent Hill Ascension.
This return is my return to a world, a universe that I have touched in 2006, 15 years ago.
Oh, it's a movie.
And they're making a movie. They made a Silent Hill movie before. Did you watch that?
Yeah.
Was that any good?
It was okay. It had a pretty disturbing moment in it, I gotta say.
Yeah.
I liked the ending of it. It had Sean Bean's in it.
Oh, is he?
And
Okay.
Ned Stark's in it.
Wow, that's a lot of Silent Hill.
I'm not even sure what we're looking at. Maybe let's read the story or something like.
Yeah.
I know they're making a Silent Hill 2, and they're making a movie.
Konami is bringing back Silent Hill in a big way. As a part of the new Silent Hill transmission, okay, so that wasn't the name of the thing. That was the name of this, I guess, announcement. Yeah. As part of the new Silent Hill transmission, Konami announced multiple Silent Hill games and projects, including a full remake of Silent Hill 2. Read on to see everything. Okay, Silent Hill 2 remake. As rumored, Bloober Team is developing a full remake of Silent Hill 2 with the help of the original Team Silent artist Masahiro Ito and composer Akira Yamaoka. The remake was announced for PlayStation 5. The remake will retell the story of James Sunderland, who is looking for his dead wife, who sent him a mysterious letter from the town of Silent Hill. Konami and Blooper are promising a fully reworked game using new technology and delivered in 4K. So that was the first part of that trailer. The second part was this: Silent Hill Townfall. So close to downfall. A new spinoff developed by No Code Studios, Stories Untold, and publisher Annapurna Interactive. This new project will be a unique take on Silent Hill franchise from a highly decorated AA developer.
Play on that by itself. I just want to see what this was.
Okay. Yeah, they were all kind of mashed together.
The most interesting besides the remake.
Why are you here? No, in this place. Why are you here? You're to be punished. That's good, I like it. You know what, I think you're right. I think we've done something so awful. We are stuck here in this place, being judged by these people. But for you, I think it's more than that. I think you're here for some other reason. And I don't want to be anywhere near you when you figure that out.
It's a very well done trailer.
Yeah, it looks fucking dope.
That was really cool. They gave, I mean, you know nothing about the game,
I know, but
that looked really cool.
All I know is I want to play it. See, that's the difference. It's like
Silent Hill F.
What is that?
Another new spin-off announced is Silent Hill F, set in 1960s Japan. This narrative-driven spin-off will be written by acclaimed Japanese writer Rukishi 07, who created visual novels like Higurashi and Umi Neko. That means nothing to me. The spin-off will juxtapose a beautiful and terrifying world and focus on the psychological supernatural mysteries of Silent Hill. Well, it looked very David Lynchian. Silent Hill Ascension. Potentially the most unique announcement from the transmission, Konami announced Silent Hill Ascension, an immersive project where participants around the world will control the characters in a new Silent Hill story. Basically a Let's Play Pokemon version of a new Silent Hill story that will be live on multiple platforms. That's interesting.
What the fuck?
Silent Hill Ascension is a collaboration between Genvid Entertainment, Bad Robot Games, Behavior Interactive, and DJ2 Entertainment.
I'm at a loss for words.
I don't even know what the fuck I just read. Are these supposed to be like actual users texting this shit?
Yeah. I don't know about that.
I mean, it probably isn't going to be anything I'll be into, but I'm curious about. I mean, it seems like they're trying something new.
Yeah, I mean, we're just gonna see the concept.
Yeah. Face your trauma together. Okay.
Okay.
And Return to Silent Hill. Christoph Gans, the director of the first Silent Hill movie, is making a third. I guess there was a second. Is making a third movie in the series with Return to Silent Hill. Details are being kept under wraps for now, but Konami is promising more information about the project at a later date. So this looked like CGI to me.
No, that's scenes from the first game. So that's from the first movie.
This is from the first movie?
Yeah. Or maybe not. It's been a while since I
This
saw it.
return is my return to a world, a universe that I have touched in 2006, 15 years ago. The film was a great success, and we decided to go back to the best of his stories, I mean Silent Hill 2. The film is the story of a young guy coming back to Silent Hill where he has known a great love, and what he's going to find is a pure nightmare.
I have the chance of being very close with Christoph, and we together has achieved to convince Konami that there is a new version of Silent Hill that needs to be done, and they are 100% on board.
In the first Silent Hill, we were exploring a world, the world of this small town, completely closed into the mist. It was like being trapped into a Twilight Zone. But in the second game, you know, the creator of the game have changed the rules, you know. We were basically going back to Silent Hill, the same town, but we were looking this strange world entirely through the point of view of the hero we were playing.
Mary, could you really be in this town?
He realized that Mary is lost somewhere into this strange...
So it sounds like they're adapting Silent Hill 2.
At its core, it's also the idea of the myth of Orpheus. And whatever a man can go deep in hell to bring back the soul or the person he loved the most in his life.
Yeah.
So it's much more about psychological horror, even if we are going to find again all the same creature and the same strange terror sequence, something like that. But the first big interrogation and the first big terror is about ourselves. Are we mad? Are we sane? Are we sane to go back to Silent Hill to find this great love?
This one now has so many years from the first one that there is a clear idea from Christoph to make it modern, but also very true to the video game. And that's also what it is. We are also
Well, we don't need to watch all 6 minutes of that. We get the gist. They're remaking Silent Hill 2 as a movie. Well, that's neat. Okay, so if you're a big fan of Silent Hill, you just got a shit ton of...
Konami is going all in on that shit.
Yeah, they are, and it seems like at least 2 of those things I'm curious about. So it'll be interesting to see how they develop. That's kind of neat. Awesome.
Yeah, Silent Hill 2 is gold. Actually, I enjoyed 3 and 4, even though 4 was weird, but I enjoyed it. And then the one after I played after that wasn't as good.
Just bring back PT, guys. I mean, that's what people really want.
Yeah.
It seems like you're going way out of your way to, like, not give people PT.
I know. I agree. It's like, here's a bunch of things.
That's not PT.
One thing that you want.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me, Justin.
It was a pleasure, as always.
I'm going to step away from a bit, fellas.
So
I'm happy with that. It's going to give me a lot to edit. And then once I finish editing, I'm going to be able to flex my processing power for the first time. Finally. All right, be back in a bit. All right, I am back. All right. That was a fun discussion. Long discussion, but a fun one. Let's see. What am I going to do? I guess I can jump into Oblivion. Yeah, he's gone. You're safe. You're safe. Ah, tricked you. Daggerfall time. Will you stop that? All right. Back to being a spell sword, a werewolf spell sword. Why are both of you just chilling beneath my feet? Were you that scared of Justin? It's okay, Suki. Let's see. Oh, yeah, that's right. The Dark Brotherhood. They're recruiting me to their cause. Oh, shit. I got all sorts of fucking messages. Who the fuck are you? Can I help you? I know you have a package from Eason Kingford. Hand it over, nobody gets hurt. This must be another quest that I have currently active. She didn't poison me, did she? No, I'm healthy. Okay, cool. Rodney Buckingston. So what, I gotta find a wine glass in here? Why was it sitting on the floor? The snake venom clouds the wine but briefly. In a few seconds, the drink looks normal again. Now all you have to do is put it back. The fuck? What are you doing in here? You want some? How many other motherfuckers are running around in here wanting a piece? Oh shit! The jump scares in this particular house. Edwin Greening and the Copper House Plantation. So he's in here somewhere. Ah. Well done, Goris. Rawdon Buckingston was stricken with sudden heart failure. Poor bastard. You have shown you can kill with care and not just with a bared blade. You are now a full member of the Dark Brotherhood. Anytime you enter a town, you will know if there are any guild buildings there. It is customary for the novice to receive payment of a single coin for his first sanctioned death. Here is yours. All right. Cool. Well, see you later, buddy. Perpetual Altar of Kenneth. Oh, shit. Who? It's right in the middle of the town. Who am I delivering this to? Theodane Yumford. Should I be asking where this person is? Okay, so they're not in here. Ah, the Ashhart residence. A young lad hands you a letter and scurries off. Ruins of Masterson Court. Very well. Oh shit, I was gonna take a drink. My spell sword has gotten much, much better at wielding this axe. Oh shit, oh shit. Oh god damn, I didn't even notice that drop. I just jumped right off the fucking... Oh god damn. What? Who's casting spells at me? Where am I? I have never seen this map before. Oh shit. One-shot this dude. Are they fighting each other out there? What a crazy... Damn it. Get you both, bitches. Ooh, a potion of healing. Oh shit, you fucking sit in the corner, you weirdo. Damn, that motherfucker hurt me. That wasn't showing up on the map. I gotta say, being a werewolf kind of rocks, dude. Like, I'm super fucking strong. I can carry a ton of shit. I can still be a spell sword. Oh, god damn it, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, hold on a second, guys. Whew. I got a quick one-shot in and a looting before that levitation wore off. I guess I could have just used levitation for that. If I had thought about it. Oh man, this dude is just mass murdering his way in this. You know, this guy started off really shitty, but he started getting slightly better as I progressed. But now, oh shit, what the fuck? Nope. It was trying to send me to a plummeting doom, but all it did was serve as a shortcut to my exit. Well, now what am I supposed to do? I guess I'll... The unfortunate woodchuck? Where is everybody? I'm not a werewolf. Thank you, sir. Due east. By the mist, Goris, it was dreadful. The tavern keep found Barbissa Ashfield in one of her rooms, her body defiled in the most horrifying way, a grim parody of the old Temple of Kenneth mortuary rites. It was Victane Mastersley, no doubt. This relic was found in Barbissa Ashfield's chest cavity. See if Mordweir Moorfield in Mershire recognizes it. Mershire. Mastersley residence. Thank you, sir. South. Okay. Was mad as a monkey? That's a strange. Well, now what? Grayberry. An unfamiliar object in your pack catches your eye. It is a letter addressed to you in an elegant... What the fuck? A werewolf hunter. Whatever, fucking dude. Bring your worst. No way I'm giving up this werewolf shit. I'm fucking strong as fuck now. You feel the need to hunt the innocent. Alright, well, I guess I know what I'm going to be doing after I turn in this quest. Oh, what's up, Gulbs? What's happening? You know what? I'm going to finish this quest and I'm going to hang out with you, okay? Let me finish this quest. You can't give me a second? I'm gonna finish this quest and then I'm gonna hang out with you, okay? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, you little calico. Oh yeah, you little calico. Why am I close to dying? Alright, that's it for me today. I've been doing this for 4 hours, and this little guy, or this little gal, is getting very... Oh, you're gonna flip upside down, are you? Oh, I thought you were gonna flip upside down. Oh, you wanna flip upside down? Ho ho, you little calico. You little calico. Ho ho, you're upside down, you little calico. What's happening? What's happening? Alright. Here, get you out for a second. I'll be there in a second. Just let me finish my stream. All right, a little taste of a werewolf. That was a fun stream. That was a good discussion. Good Rings of Power discussion. Probably gonna be back tomorrow. So join me tomorrow. See you guys then.